Here on Twitch and lichess.org. This is the Micro Panda. Hello. And this is Macro Panda. Panda replacements for the original. The original Panda. Panda. Hello. Hello, I'm just a replacement, but I'm still black and white. Alright. So, Pandas, take your places. You sent your game in early this week, Bob. You send your game in early or late? Early is on time, late, yeah. Early is on time is late, and late is inexcusable. Right, Bob? So, Bob, I've got you last on the list. You were just last. It's not late or anything like that. We could do last week's, though. Last week's was early. So welcome, guys. We had a donation from M Van X of $10 for the stream via PayPal this week. I'd like to thank him. M Van, who shall remain, anonymous. Very nice donation. Thank you very much. So, everyone, welcome to the stream. It's going to be subscribers Thursday. JCS, Mr. Coffee, Asterbait, Bob, and the Fuchsia. Fuchsia. It's not really Fuchsia, but we'll call you Fuchsia. The Fuchsia. Anyway, it's too hard to say that. We about timed out, Jeegs. Excessive use of the F word. I don't know, man. That's a serious crime. But if the stream is all good, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So Percy Hepworth is in the house. Actually, Perthy is actually first on the list, ironically. So let's get started without any kind of delay. Mike Tyson. Yeah, we're doing the Mike Tyson accents. Popular in the chess world. Very popular in the chess world. I'm better with just dyslexia rather than speech impediments. So I've got 10 games already. I think we have like a 15 maximum probably. Weiss Monsters, hello, you're up there at the top too. So guys, if you are a subscriber and you get your submission in at a relatively on time pace, you can expect me to analyze the game today. People who wait, too long are not going to get their game analyzed. It doesn't matter if you're a subscriber or you hate my guts, but I'm not going to analyze the games that come in too late. Will the Twitch streams of World Chess Championship actually show footage from the arena or just the board? I'm not streaming the World Chess Championship. You're going to have to talk to World Chess about that. Not a real reliable organization. Is this Magnus Fabi? No, this is not. I mean, they didn't even start yet, right? Doesn't it start tomorrow? Am I out of it or something? Doesn't Magnus versus Fabiano? Am I crazy? I thought it started on the 9th. But I might be mistaken. Today's the 8th. I had the idea that it starts. Yeah, it's tomorrow. But I didn't make any promises to do game analysis of that. I'm analyzing subscribers' games here. So, without further ado, we're going to get started with our exciting subscriber analysis. This is a serious stream. If you have attention deficit or you only play 1-minute chess, this is probably not the place for you to hang out. Although it can be funny and entertaining nonetheless. Alright, first off, Percy. So, let me see if I can find him here. Yeah, Percy Hepworth. We don't really know who Percy, Percy is. He's kind of anonymous, but I don't know. Percy Hepworth, Rita Hayworth. I always thought it's like a made-up name. Is that your real name? Or Percy Hepworth sounds like a movie star or something. Alright. D4, D5, Bishop G5. This is... Okay, Voya versus me. Or Voya versus me. 60-60 Simul, Chapter 1. Voya versus me. Now, I'm going to assume that means Voya is white. He's also playing... I'm going to guess Voya is white. This is really funny. Haha. Alright. Will you rate your walks on their impact on your overall peace of mind? Well, I didn't have a walk today. You mean like walks like the Society of Silly Walks or whatever, like the Flying Circus, or are you talking about like walks for exercise and stuff like that? Anyways, all right, Monty Python. Are you referring to that, Bob? The silly walks. Voya's White. Okay, so D4, D5, and let me turn off the engine. It's probably frozen my stream already. I've never played this guy. You know, he strikes me as a player who kind of plays boring openings. Is this my full-time job? Well, teaching chess is my full-time job, and streaming is one dimension of my chess, my chess instructional occupation. So yes, in a way, yes, it is my job, part of my job. I'm also a nurse, babysitter. I've been a dog sitter, professional poker player. So I have very wide experience. Anyways, okay, D4, D5, Bishop G5. Now, we have H6. This move is, well, I don't know too much about it. It turns out to be the main move, which I'm a little surprised by, actually. I'm quite surprised. Do we have this set to the right thing, Masters? Huh. Wow, H6 is the main move. I did not know that. I had a strange idea that F6 was the main move. It's just that F6 is possibly the best move for black. But I don't know. I mean, I like the line with F6, kind of F6 for free. If Bishop H4, then Knight H6. This is a good line for black, from what I know. Move 11, welcome. So, Bishop H4, that's a good line for black. F6 does weaken the king side, but it has a very good score. It has a good reputation. With H6, I'm not really quite sure what we're doing. You know, it's striking that that's the most common move. I'm a little surprised. So it takes the bishop off the diagonal, and then we're going to try to do something funky like C6 or C5 and try to get out the pin. The bane of a chess professional. Get him. He's not doing anything. That's the bane of the millionaire who inherited all his money from his dad. Or a billionaire in some cases. Bishop G5, H6, Bishop H4. So we get the bishop off this diagonal, right? And then we try to exploit maybe B2 when he can't play Bishop C1. I don't know. I don't personally like H6, but I guess it's the main move. Do you pay taxes in the US and Hungary? I do not pay taxes in two countries. I pay taxes in the United States. Okay. I wouldn't go for that. I'm not going to go for that, but I'm not going to pay double taxes. Taxing twice. Bishop H4, C5. Yeah, so that looks like it might be a good move. But I have seen C6. Switching over to my main account. Alright, man. Jeeks. So C6, typically we're playing C6 a little more solid. Queen B6. As I said, bother that pawn. Instead, Percy Upwards plays C5. This is a really gung-ho move. I mean, I like that move. And I would imagine you can play it straight up. You know, it's like very aggressive to play C5 straight out of the gate. But I think that getting the bishop off on that out of position location there on H4 is probably beneficial. So H6, Bishop H4. White doesn't have to play Bishop H4. He could play Bishop F4. And then C5 very aggressively. A lot of expats evade taxes in their home country. Yeah, well, I always felt like they would get me. The IRS is scary, but the Hungarian tax agency is scary too. Okay, E3. And now C takes D4. This seems like an early exchange on D4. Generally, my philosophy is just keep the tension. But here you're black. Okay, I mean, I've also made this sort of exchange sometimes. But in a vacuum, I would be reluctant to do that unless there's a good reason why I have to do that. You can't play E6 here, true enough. You could try something like queen b6. This has been played a few times, and I would imagine knight c3 gambit style, and then just e6. Yeah, this is pretty solid for black, I would imagine. F6 is a real thing actually there. Yeah, no, it's a very real thing. The F6 has been recommended by some serious theoretical articles. No, F6 knight H6 is very strong. That's like the best line for black. It's been pretty much like solidified theoretically. E3, okay, C takes D4, I think this is a little early. E takes D4, knight C6, C3, bishop F5, getting the bishop outside the pawn chain. Yeah, so here it's a lot like an exchange Caro-Kann, and that kind of makes sense because you got that tucking that bishop back there, which is nice. But you wonder what happens if queen b3 right about now. That would be obvious, you know, point of contention. Guven Kurt. This queen b3, let's see what the engine thinks about this. Not really a big deal, according to Stockfish. Queen b6 would be a weird structure, but you could just simply go here. Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about your bishop's outside the chain, you can play queen d7. There's no knight coming to e5. I mean, he could try that. I still think that white is okay here. He's not worse. Anyway, I don't want to spend forever on one game. I get carried away. Shinkovic Peter, Hungarian IM, who I played last month, ironically. Knight d2, okay. Queen b6. Yeah, this move I'm not really down with. I don't think, you know, it's necessary, but I do understand you're breaking the pin. I guess it's not a bad move. He's basically forced to play queen b3, but you don't really want to allow this necessarily unless you have to. On the other hand, as Capablanca and other people proved, it's not bad. Yeah. So you shouldn't exchange here. You can actually let him exchange here. I mean, I guess you have to play e6, queen b6, a b6. And unlike the famous game where the bishop came back to d7, you can't do that here. So it seems like white has a small edge. Alright. I mean, if anybody's suspicious, it's maybe... I don't know, where did we leave book here? It's just a random position. Queen b3, e6, yeah. Queen b6. Maybe you should just pull the trigger on knight f6, man. Quang Liem versus Nakar from 2016. And Quang unable to get a win. I mean, do not fear this too much, probably. You could recapture either way, I would think here, for black, depending on your personal preference. Do not fear the double pawns, my friend. Okay, so knight f6 probably the better solution. This way now he's better. I think the a-file and the united pawn structure there is very good for white. I didn't like queen b6. Okay, now that structure is just annoying where he's playing b4, b5. He's got the a-file. It's just better for white. Now f6. I don't mind f6 because you got king f7. Get out of the pin. Maybe bother him with g5 later on. f6 is not necessarily a bad move. Now what? You like doubling the other pawns and then giving them open files. But not all double pawns are bad. Yeah, I would be tempted to just play like king e7 or something like that. White is better though. With these double pawns on the queen side are strong. There is this backwardness here for black along the e-file, which could be rather irritating. Fortunately, he doesn't have a good place to put his king, so he just settled for castling. Now your king is actually better in the endgame. Yeah, b6, which does weaken you a little bit with the a6 square there. Does anyone feel I neglect to explain the reasoning behind moves in openings? No. I try to explain, I mean, as much as I can possibly explain. If you're asking me, Bob, I don't think so. I think you're asking the others. Okay, g5 here. That seems a little bit weird because you could be backward along the file there. That's a little bit strange. I don't think you needed to play g5. Knight there. Let's see what happens here. Now I played passively. Very solid. And I keep forgetting this is an IM playing white, right? He has a boring style, I have to say. But I heard that rumor. Knight f3, very technical player. Rook e2, e5. And this is risky, but probably just good. So he just like played a little too routinely. Does he have b5? I mean, I guess he figured he had b5 here, so you couldn't do this. This was like a misconception. Maybe he didn't see your knight was on b5. So if he plays b5, you just take this. That's it. Possibly he was relying on that move that was impossible. D takes e5 here. Yeah, that sucks for white. Now he's like beating his tracks. Knight d2. Wow, great game. Now black is better. You just played d4. I mean, obviously you can try to infiltrate here with knight e5. And is his g4 pawn just going to fall? I mean, does this just win a pawn? It appears that way. It appears that way. I wouldn't want these pawns to get blockaded. I'm going to turn off the engine. Did our stream crash? It's analysis today. If these pawns get absolutely strongly blockaded, it could be difficult for black to make progress. But it looks like this just wins a clear pawn. Well, honestly, like this opening, Bob, isn't a very theoretical opening. You don't see too many games with it. And I don't know much about bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, so I can't give you too many insights. d4. Guys, please support the stream. We had a $10 donation via PayPal yesterday. You can support us via PayPal. Donate bits here. Start a bit war. Don't be shy to start a bit war on Subscriber Thursday. Please. So now d4, cd4, knight d4, and that pawn becomes an Isolani. Mule Skinner's next. Okay, so now we've got like 11 plus games. Probably not room for too many more. I mean, just in general, I watched a streamer who explained from move 1, and it was eye-opening. Well, I normally, don't explain from move 1. Rook e3. Weiss Monster starting a bit war with 2. Alright, Rook c8. Yes, the problem is, Bob, if I did it like that, we'd be here spending an hour and a half on one game. And we have to do 15 games in 2.5 hours. So you do the math. Rook c8, b3. Rook on c to c7. This looks... Rook c7 feels kind of passive for me. We still didn't win a pawn. So I'm not sure that we're still better anymore. It looks like you kind of let him off the hook a bit here. He's a good technical player. Though I don't know what rook d1's like a cheapo. This move is strange for me, pulling that knight away to the side of the board where it doesn't have really an overt plan. Asterbate with 1, Dimwit with 100 bits. He's the bit leader for the week with 301. So he's really crushing it. Strikes me as a player who's playing quickly, probably in time pressure in the simul here. Knight f1. Right. Persepolis, I get the feeling when he's making these kind of just shuffling the pieces around in a 5x5 quadrant that he's in time pressure. Knight g3 here. Getting kind of random with the knight f5. I guess he's hoping you take it and he can play g4 and support that guy. Now he wants to maintain his structure. He doesn't. He plays, wow, the pawn takes. So the engine, yeah, I mean, it's strange. I mean, he's so hope chessing this that you take on f5, and he gets this supposed powerful pawn. Truthfully, it's probably not that big a deal that he can take back with the g-pawn and f5. Alright, so his big thing is like banking on g4 with the protected pass pawn. But you could probably undermine that with h5, you know, so the truth is it might not be a big deal. Like, check this out. You did it, rook d6, right? And if he exchanges rook takes, knight takes, g4, h5, and suddenly it's not even clear. White's pawns are all isolated. He might just be worse. So he had enough sense to not trade rooks there, looking for counterplay. h5, great move, man. And now g3, and I suppose he lost on time here, or the game was agreed to draw. Black's clearly better. The rook to the 7th, and then the question is how to get your knight into the game. I guess it's knight d6, knight f5, etc. So black is basically winning. It's not an easy winning, it's a winning, you know, by computer. But his knight is totally screwed. His king is cut off on the 8th rank. It's a good game by Percy Hepworth. Draw agreed, so clear advantage to black, practically winning. I mean, I guess this is basically winning based on pawn structure, better king. His failure to attack your pawns, h5 was a great move. All of his pawns are weaknesses, like literally all 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Nice game. All right, well, I can't criticize your play. Your acceptance of a draw here, maybe. All right, next up is Weiss Monsters, who was second. Again, Dim, thank you for the donation, guys. Tomorrow we have a stream at 12 noon. Fast Friday. 5+3 Blitz. All right, where are we? So Weiss Monsters. Would like to offer this game. It's a close game in the Nimzovich system featuring the blockade. Nimzovich system. Oh, Nimzovich system. Okay, so you're talking about the advanced French. In English, you know, in American chess circles, we don't call it the Nimzovich system. We call it the French advance. But you're absolutely correct, and in many places maybe they do refer to it as the Nimzovich system because Nimzovich himself did play e5 against the French frequently with some good results. All right, so this is Weiss Monsters with white. Mule Skinner donated 50 bits to get on the board. He's in 3rd place. Dim 301, Fishrat Cow with 100, and Mule Skinner with 50. Good job, Mule Skinner. You're welcome, Percy Hepworth. So I'm not going to look at the graph here. It looks pretty up and down. Okay, so what do we got? We got Weiss Monsters playing against Rudy Hario. All right. Man, I got to get to the analysis board here. Sorry. I am on the analysis board. Am I not? All right, I got to get to computer analysis now. Cross table, no. Move times, no. Computer analysis. What do we want to... Guess it doesn't matter. All right. So we were playing e4. Ideas in broad strokes rather than specifics. It's a French advanced variation, d4, d5. I had a student yesterday who shall remain nameless who plays the exchange variation against the French. And I think it's not recommended. ED, it liberates the bishop on c8 and gives black a symmetrical structure where there's really no dynamics. And our hero ended up drawing this game against a lower-rated player. Not a surprise, because if you take the dynamics out of the position, the draw, you know, chances will increase. Do not play the exchange French against a lower-rated player. It's not a good idea. Okay, the advanced French is a little bit better. c5. If you like closed positions, okay, this totally makes sense. Knight f3 instead of c3. Right, and I was talking to Mr. Coffee about this week, actually. So, I mean, in a vacuum, we can call knight f3 dubious. We can say, like Nimzovich was dubious. I mean, he tried queen g4. This is a very, you know, fun gambit for blitz. Also, Nimzovich played d takes c5, creating, again, imbalance. Remember the engine. Thanks, Ubatis. It's a good thing I've got the lines reduced to one line, don't I? Let's see. Wait, let me check my settings. Oh, multiple lines. That's bad. Don't want multiple lines. That's really freezing me. Whoops. Alright, let's turn it off. So, again, another line that creates imbalance. It creates the square d4. Nimzovich blockade using the squares d4 and e5 for the pieces. Alright, this is our second game. So, e4, here we are. Out of the opening, knight f3. And, yeah, talking to Mr. Coffee about this, the real question is, like, should you take on d4 with black or not, you know? And in that instance, the main idea for white is sack a pawn. It's to sack a pawn. You play bishop d3. I had a friend from Poland, Bogdan Holownia. He was a classical, actually, he was a jazz pianist, and he was a really, really good blitz player who lived in Boston for a while, but I think he moved back to Poland. He loved to play, like, crazy gambits and stuff. This is one of his favorite lines. But it's okay, objectively not sound, but in a practical game, white gets good attacking chances on the king side. People like Johnny Hector have probably played this. I mean, you wedge that pawn in e5, the d4 pawn is kind of like a shield. Black actually can't, you know, get through the d4. This is almost like a defensive piece for white, preventing access to d4. So, it's like a bad blot in backgammon or something. Yeah, it's this tough decision to take or not to take. I don't think it's that dubious for white, but I think you should play this gambit continuation. You can see other moves have been played, like queen takes d4, knight takes d4, but it's kind of... Roman recommends this. That's kind of weird because Roman's really into Nimzovich. You know, you maybe not... I don't know if he studied his games heavily, but Roman's positional style is totally Nimzovichian. There's a deep piece of Nimzovich in the way Roman plays, but actually Roman was like into the... He used to recommend the winnower with like playing knight c3 and bishop d2. Asterbait, thanks for the commercial money. Anyways, okay. We're going to take a look at what happened here. Okay, knight c6 and then bishop d3. And again, this is funny. That's what we were looking at yesterday with Mr. Coffee. And I never realized that this was actually, you know, the recommended variation for white. But I mean, I don't know, normally I wouldn't know what else you would do. You know, you can take on c5, of course. Play c3 and transpose. So on this move, there's a funny move here that's almost never played. I was talking about this the other day. Why is this not playable for black, like knight b4? I'm not like fully sure, like what's wrong with this move. This seems playable, like, you know, I don't know why that's never been tried, oddly enough. But probably both sides will lose time. The bishop has to move, then the knight will get kicked back. It's like a trade-off. Okay, so what does he do? He accepts the pawn. Now we transpose, castles, and now we're in the gambit line. Bishop c5. Yeah, somewhere I saw this move played not that long ago, but I don't remember what context, where I saw this. Because most people, when facing, I think, this line with black, have a natural affinity for like trying to attack the e5 pawn as fast as possible. You know what it is, bishop c5? It was played by Budvinnik. I did a series on Budvinnik for chesslecture.com like last year, and one of the games that I chose was a game where Budvinnik was black, and he played against this gambit line very successfully. He later played f6, and he had a really funky maneuver where he did like f6, king f7, knight e7, and then later he actually maneuvered his queen to like g8 or something. That was like the best move of the game. So bishop c5 is recommended by Budvinnik. Bishop f4. Now h6, played in only one game. You would expect knight e7 to be almost universal, developing a piece here. h6. but why not? What about white's last move? Was bishop f4 necessarily a good move? That's the thing. I mean, you could do something where you just overprotect the strong point. I think rook e1 is a little more up my alley. I like rook e1 because you have that knight d2, and then you can choose between there or there. So Mr. Coffee says that Watson's French book actually talks about this line. He's pretty thorough. I haven't seen the latest edition of that. So bishop f4 may well be a mistake for white in this position. And h6 is one way to try to take advantage of that. And now h4. And I think that black could almost play g5. You know, is it really out of the question here to consider g5? Because it's white's H file. You know, I mean that's well, you know, you're welcome to that. This looks like a very dangerous thing. Let me take a look here with G5. Maybe this doesn't work. HG5, knight G5, I guess. You could also take with the bishop. This is coming down. It's scary, but black doesn't really have enough space to effectively attack, so it may be dubious. Something to think about. We got another message there. Perhaps another Mule Skinner featuring H4 pawn sack. Mule Skinner's on the list. Great. So there's no G5. Knight E7. Knight on BD2. Knight G6. And that knight is not, you know, not the best square, but this is, you know, similar to what Botvinnik did, except his pawn was back on h7. Bishop takes g6, it would be h takes g6 in Botvinnik's case. That's not available here. I would assume bishop g3. Is there something wrong with this move? I mean, there's no question I'm playing bishop g3. One of the problems with Botvinnik's game when he was black... oh, you did play bishop g3. Okay. Yeah, the computer or somebody was suggesting bishop takes g6. This is what happened in Botvinnik's game, and then after that, hg, and then black had great control of the white squares throughout the game. I mean, this queen actually came through here, here, and came through here to dominate white completely. That's Botvinnik. But... yeah, I don't want to give up my white square bishop. This bishop is a little sketchy. It's pretty bad, and it's inactive. But then again, so is black's bishop on c5. Okay, queen c7. Into the diagonal of death. You know, you really wish you hadn't played h6 right about now. Because if you hadn't played h6 right about now, I mean black hadn't played h6, he could play f6. And that's exactly what happened in Botvinnik's game. So it cast out on h6. You never want to play h6 and f6. Queen c7 doesn't help. Rook e1, I thought that was a good move. Castles into it. Basically, black could play maybe like... I don't know what black's going to do. This looks good. a3, it's an interesting move. It's kind of like I have all the time in the world to do whatever I want. Queen e7. With no clear plan. He's just getting off the diagonal. That makes sense. So now h5 would drive the knight back to h8. Very tempting. Here. Nefedov. Oh, Nefedov's not here. Nils is here. No? Nils, good evening. Thanks, JCS, for handling the moderating duties. Soltigo re-injured his leg, so he's not feeling good. Alright, Infinite Flash is next in the list, and I think we're getting near the end, guys. I'm not going to guarantee any games beyond Infinite Flash chess. I mean, I don't think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You know, I think we're going to draw the line there. And anybody else after Infinite Flash chess who gets their game analyzed is going to consider themselves lucky. Else with the $50 bit war. Well, bit dollars, anyway. The 50-bit war, 50-bit bit war. Thank you so much. Yeah, so It's tempting to play h5 though, isn't it? But it might just overextend. I'm liking h5, man. How do you not play h5? You can play like bishop h4 after that. That's embarrassing for black here. Bishop h4. This is looking good, man. This is like the ultimate King's Indian attack. My goodness. Knight, or even knight to f1, knight to h2. Very similar to a King's Indian attack, but you got the bishop on the great diagonal, where it would be on like g2 or h3 in the King's Indian attack. This is tremendous for white. So he misses h5, plays this. Yeah, I think the thing is, I mean, you should really be thinking about your space advantage on the king side. Go for the kill against the king here. a6, useless move. h5, there we go. Knight h8, bishop h4, perfect. Queen e8, and then he just tries to build up. But now we're sorry we put the knight on b3. Wow, Nils, give me number one. Nils steals first place from Dim with 352-bit donation. He better hope that Juicebox doesn't show up, or Clash Kid or something. Percy Hep, we're talking about the later editions of Watson on the French. I'll have to check that out. But the thing is, this knight really, really, really wishes it was over on f1, gone to h2 and g, and then it would be over. You'd have like complete, what Larry Christensen calls the student body attack on the king side. Okay, queen d2. The student body revolting against the deans of the college. Queen d2, bishop d8. The computer says f5, but that's obviously a very ugly move for black to play. However, again, we want our knight there, going to f1 to g3. Dim, 199, he says no. And there's a bit more actually taking place, guys, shaping up here. Nils and Dim just donating 199 more. So Nils maintains with an answer. Now another one. Wow, Dim, 100 taking the lead. Yes, a bit war. So f5, difficult move for black to find there, but he's desperate. He's desperate. What do you think, move 11? You know, you've been in this kind of position in like a bad Catalan with your queen on e8. Would you find f5 like the only way? King's Indian attack Catalan with no space with black. Would you find f5 to try to find the only way to break out? Knight b3, clearly the mistake. Nils just cements his first place with 651 bits, and then Dim steals it back. This is great. It's an awesome bit war. Let's continue with the game. These guys are going crazy with the 100-bit donations. Dim with 700. They are investing it. Nils with 100. His pockets are deep. Now bishop d8, trading off the classic good bishop for white's active bad bishop. Ignis is going to be no guarantee I'm getting that far. Ignis is a question mark. He's late. You are late. Nils is like, my pockets are deep. He said it's an investment. Okay, since I'm empty, I'm out. Muleskin getting in the act with 100 bits, taking third place. And then Nils with another 50 to make it an even 801. All right. Let's get on with the game. So bishop h4. I didn't say the last move, queen f4. A very, very, I think, natural move. Dim had another 100 secretly coming out to 800. He almost tricked Nils. And now it's Nils with 801, Dim with 800. Yeah, and Nils put in another 50. He's like, you tricked me. Set myself up as a non-profit. Can people do that? Can it be like non-profit people? I've been non-profit all my life. Alright, bishop d8, queen f4. Queen f4, bishop takes h4, queen h4, f6, finally trying to free himself. But man, look at that e-file. Knight on h8, bishop on c8 at home, rook sleeping on a8. You gotta admit that black is in big trouble here. The Church of Chess. What do you think, Bob? What if I started the Church of Chess? That would be awesome. Evangelical chess. You know you'd make millions. You'd make millions. You start the Church of Chess. You get Sunday church school going on. I like it, man. Chell and how do you say a televangelist? Chess televangelist. I could get a job at the Trump administration. All right, knight takes c6. Mike Pence could come on, give us like a speech or something. If you start the Church of Chess, you go to hell. Oh man, I'm in hell already. Knight takes e5, rook a7, the acerbate maneuver. Is acerbate in the house? Alright, this is just fun. Great game by White, though. After the shaky opening, he's got the Nimzowitschian bind, man. Just owning the g6 square. Beautiful game. Beautiful ownage. The last piece, Botvinnik, yes, we need to avoid the trade. Botvinnik says that we need to get the last piece in the game, guys. Queen g4. It was a tough day, Bob. I'll just leave it at that. Queen f6, rook e1. Uh-oh. It's a pseudo blunder. Snaps the pawn. I'm just kidding. Heads back. Bishop c8. Beautiful. Beautiful defense there. And now rook f1. Okay. So bishop h7 should win at least the exchange. And then White monsters can mate with like rook takes f8 and sacking his queen with queen g6 check. You know that's on the horizon here. Here. So I'm playing bishop h7 check, king takes h7, rook takes f8, and then praying that the opponent lets me mate him with queen g6. Knight takes g6 and h takes g6 checkmate. I'm down with that. White monsters instead played rook takes. This is not the most elegant win. Here. Here. This is trading off the key knight on h8. Probably not the best move for White. And then, wow. Even a mistake here. So why would you trade his knight on h8, White monsters? I mean, I think you missed the boat there with bishop h7. Faith chess and chess healing. We could do chess healing to make your game better. You know? I'm a chess healer. Knight takes g6. We could have our own health insurance, by the way. Queen takes, chess-based health insurance. Chess faith-based health insurance. Queen takes g6, rook f7, queen h7. And now, obviously, black is up a pawn, but his king's a little shaky here. The greediness. But he didn't see a better way, so he's just snapping this pawn. Queen f4. And then, what is going on here? e5 apparently. Okay, it's easy for the computer to say this is winning for White. For Black, but it's not so easy in practice. e5 does make sense to just liberate this bishop on d7. I'll need an airplane. Right, exactly, like that. But is this a guy like an African guy who has all the churches or whatever? Has like 6 planes or something? Queen h4 check, king g1. Queen f6, and this is a very bad decision because White has the outside pawn in the endgame. That's going to give White at least a good chance, I would think. So, queen takes g6 question mark. I mean, yeah, basically you don't want that endgame with that dangerous outside pawn, I would think. What a mess this game was. White Monsters found, he just went through all his games, he found like the longest possible game with the most confusing possible turnovers of advantages. If this was an NFL game, there were basically like 10 turnovers. I mean, like 3 fumbles and 7 interceptions. Rook f4, rook f3. Alright, so that a-pawn creeps me out. Majorly. Finally, we trade rooks, and suddenly I like White because this kind of keeps the center the central pawns at bay, and I mean the outer pawn is just a massive threat. So I think that there's really no risk for white anymore. He's out of the woods, and only he can win. I guess f4 is okay. King centralization should be pivotal here. I don't know why you need to play bishop d3. He wanted to confine the bishop. Okay, probably not a bad move. But you have to watch your h-pawn. This pawn could fall. Have to guard it. Wow. And if we play b5, then the pawns could get blockaded on the dark squares by king c7, king b6. Plus black has c4, king c5. So c3, putting the pawns on dark squares is best. He plays this. d4 check, not played. c4. And this is a catastrophe, I would think. c4. Because if the white king gets to d4, you're very possibly going to lose. Now, I like bishop b2, protecting that pawn, but looking both ways. Bishop g6 is also okay. Okay, now, bishop d7, king d4. Now, why isn't white better here? You'd think that black would be like Zugzwang or something. Bishop a4, c3, bishop d7, bishop c2. Obviously, he doesn't play it. So bishop c2, Weiss Monsters, and you're making progress. There's a game like this that Yabatis won, he showed me today. Drawn ending. You love to refute this when starting a church. We decided Slaggieism is a religion now. Black is praying to the saint of perpetual check. I can start a chess religion. Chess cult. Now, cult is that's a bad word. We don't want to do that. That would make us unpopular. Yeah, now it just loses, man. The king left d6, it's over. Welcome to the bishop of connected pawns. Very bad endgame play. Very, very bad. That pawn is a bad hombre. And now all the pawns fall. Maybe d4, some sort of desperation try here. Now b7's a threat, so we can't even do that. He did. Oh no. And he missed b7. Probably time pressure, yes. Short of time. Just take, it's still good. We eat everything. It's an all-you-can-eat corral. And the golden corral. King takes e6. And then we're going to eat more. Welcome to golden corral. Bishop takes. And then can the pawn stop 5 pawns? Can the bishop, stop 5 pawns? Interesting question. Can the bishop stop 4 pawns? Can the bishop stop 2 pawns? I don't think it stopped that many pawns. It's hopeless. All right, guys. Bob, you're not down with Golden Corral. We'll start our own buffet, the Church of Chess buffet. Maybe in 10 years, I'll totally take on the persona. The pastor of the Church of Chess. I'll just get the goatee. I got to grow the goatee in a little bit more. We got to have personality. All right, so that was a weird game, but inspiring, Weiss Monsters. Thanks to Nil Swint and Dim for the awesome bit war. Mule Skinner getting in there a little bit. Don't be afraid to get your feet wet there, Mule Skinner. We're going to go on to the next game. We have a busy schedule here. Asterbait is up next. I'm going to try to get to as many games as I can. I can't make any promises. Neil says 50. We're all doomed. I hope you're not drinking anything. Because I am. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, Asterbait here. Is this it? Thursday viewers commentation. Commentaton. Diametrodon. Alright, please pay attention to move 17 and the mate I missed because at my level, queen prizes weigh pretty heavily. Oh, and the mate I saw is black, queen h5, white queen h8 check, rook g8, etc. Black, okay. Thanks, Nils, again. Alright, guys, let's get to work here. The Acerbate is making great strides. I feel like he's improved from beginner to solid mid-level amateur in the past however long it's been since Acerbate has been active on the stream. I mean, it's been the better part of the last year. Okay, so Acerbate is black. It's knight f3, knight f6. Neil submitted a project, so yes, I'm drinking more than one beer. Good for you. I should have a second one as well, but unfortunately, you ordered 300. Bob ordered 300 worth of wine for my Thanksgiving vacation. I'm ready, baby. Nice. What kind of wine, Bob? What do you like? All right, let me clear this out here so we have just one. Tab. Good to see like Acerbate have to face knight f3. We've been working on his c5 against e4. Been working on the check Benoni. He faced c4 last week. But we have yet to see Acerbate on the stream, you know, in a game analysis face knight f3. And knight f6 seems appropriate. You can also play c5 Acerbate. Acerbate also played the English against me successfully in the Simul last week. So knight f6. What kind of wine do you drink with turkey, Bob? I would think that, you know, Thanksgiving turkey requires like white wine. Like poultry, you're supposed to have white wine, right? Is that too, I guess duck you can have, you know, if it's a dark bird. Where's Turkey Farm? We can have some maybe red wine. Knight f3, knight f6, knight c3. Interesting. And now Acerbate goes with c5, hoping for a Sicilian transposition. He doesn't get it. He gets d4. Interesting. Basically a Marshall defense reversed, and so reversed. Here you have two good moves. d5 transposing to some kind of Rapport thing. Nils says we don't. Yeah, you guys don't do Thanksgiving. Palmina Sabita and unrefined. Is that a word? Alright, I'm out of it, man. Ancient style. Alright, so whoa, what just happened here? So Acerbate played e6, which is nothing too much of a concession, dude. You can play cd, knight takes d4, d5 Acerbate, equality. Okay, this is equality. Thank you very much. We're at least equal now after 5 moves, or what is it? 4 moves. That is awesome. Come on, Acerbate, wake up. Take advantage of this. Then you can go Nigel Davies style with the e5. That's very aggressive. But the other recommendation I was going to make is just to simply d5. I don't see anything better than white playing some kind of weird Queen's Gambit accepted with colors reversed, to be perfectly frank. And again, straight out of the Rapport repertoire. So we give thanks to the turkeys here. We have a plethora of turkeys in where I live. There were turkeys on cars, turkeys in my yard. We'll just chop some down. e6, the animal rights activists will be after me. Alright, so e6 is a little too conservative, I think, Acerbate. You know, if you transpose to the Sicilian, you'd have to play a Scheveningen. I don't even know if you know what you're doing in a Scheveningen. Do you, like, after this, take. Move 11 was talking about the pin variation. That's something you might enjoy. Not really fully, like, respected theoretically, but fun. But, alright, whatever. e6 is kind of passive. He plays instead bishop f4. And now it's like a weird London system / Rapport Verisov thing. Okay. So Acerbate now plays knight c6. Confident in the fact that white cannot play knight b5 without dropping back queen a5 check, knight back to c3. He did it. Acerbate spotted it like the shark that he is. He's like, yeah, I like my queen on a5 anyway. Thank you very much. Now knight c3, and then Azerbaijan played knight e4, and you know we have one of those situations where it's like, okay, Azerbaijan move the side piece twice again. You're not developing your forces, Azerbaijan. Focus and remember, just keep developing. Just do it. So knight e4, it's one of those moves that's like, you're not going to beat him with two pieces. You're going to have to develop the rest of your pieces. Knight e4, it's like a little too good to be true. Still not a bad move, though. I was wondering if White could play queen d3. That's weird. Weird position, but possible. But Azerbaijan, don't move the same piece twice. Just keep developing your stuff. Just play d5. You know, nothing wrong with that. You could play cd, maybe. And then you can bring your bishop out here with a really nasty pin on b4. Just keep going forward, Azerbaijan. Not the same piece twice. Here. He found this sort of sad defense. Knight takes d2, queen takes d2, and luckily for White, he's only like slightly worse. Again, I don't see the point in knight takes d4. Play c takes d4. I mean, if you do knight takes d4, you make it easy for him. You know, if you do c takes d4, you have more options. You do this knight. You can do knight takes d4 if you want, or you can do another move. Only you can have an additional option if you do c takes d4. It cannot hurt you to play that move first. You're basically forcing him to make the only moves. Black, you know, he ends up in a position where he's better. Black has the two bishops. The white squared bishop needs to get into the board. The dark squared bishop is a monster. Bishop b4. An aggressive move, but kind of miscalculation, I think. And unfortunately, the guy just snaps your pawn. And now it's not clear if you have enough sort of compensation for the sacrificed pawn. Azerbaijan got excited. And all you have to do is sit back and relax here. I would think, okay, d5. There could be a problem. If you play d5 and he plays e4, he's threatening this very nasty bishop to b5 check. That is true. I'm not sure I like that too much. Yeah, it's kind of a weird position, Azerbaijan. Not easy to find a good move here. I guess, you know, it's not that simple. Maybe a6 or something like that. Just playing in the vein of the Sicilian. Bring the queen back even. Just hang out. Play b5, bishop b7. I like a6. So you went a little too direct. Bishop b4. Lost the pawn. Okay. a6. See? a6 is a good idea. See, all the great players like a6. Bishop d3. He's hunting more material. This guy is clearly a materialist. He took g7 fast as he could. b6, interesting move. Azerbaijan's preparing for his rook lift. You know that if the guy played bishop b4, rook a7 is coming next. Castles. Bishop b7. Now we don't want to trade bishops. Fortunately, bishop e4 doesn't work. Now white just wastes a move. Queen f6. Great. Rook g8. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's a strange decision. So he could have played bishop e4, but that loses a piece. So he has to play by default knight e4 or f3 or something ugly. Just not to lose by force. Who's cool? You like Smokey the Bear? A3 question mark. Rook takes g2. King h1. Now Azerbaijan lost forcing checkmate sequence. Queen h5. We all make mistakes. He was having too much fun. He decided to be a materialist. King h1, rook g6 check. Here, rook takes f6. He likes the extra queen. Who doesn't like the extra queen? Queen takes b4. f3. Lives to fight another day. Now castles queenside. Mr. Fancy. Azerbaijan, why would you castle queenside? Your king is quite safe here. Going to e7 on the dark square where nothing can hurt you. Do not give this guy some kind of crazy chance to checkmate you. Here, rook takes a6, and he drops a rook. Oh my god. You see? It's happening. Rook check. Here, drops a rook. Queen d2. And then, oh no. Rook g2. He's holding tough here. Still, I mean, the pawns are going to slowly fall. Black's still winning. Exacerbate, that was a back and forth game. Back and forth game. Yeah, he resigned. All right. You like when I analyze the low rated game? Yeah, I like it too. It's a lot of fun. Guys, thanks for the bit war. Nils, by the way, he made another donation when I wasn't paying attention. He snuck in 100. No, we saw that one. That was weird. How did Nils get up to 1,000? I guess you snuck it in afterwards. Nils is up to 1,001. Dim with 800. Mule Skinner 150. Thank you guys for making it a good day. We had a really bad, rough night and morning today, but I'm all right now. Move 11's up. Move 11's made good strides. He's improving. Move 11 is, in my opinion, pushing Master Strength over the board, but he's got a little ways to go. He's pushing 2100 USCF. So move 11 is up next. He's not really a blitz guy, but he's very, very faithful to the game. Okay, great improvement from move 11 in the last year. He's got a game here from Lev Sakis against Garry Kasparov. Cool. All right, where is Lev Sakis? If you guys don't know Lev Sakis, he's a former Soviet player. I believe that he lives in Israel. He's probably become fairly inactive, getting up there into his, I don't know, early 60s, but late 50s, early 60s. But he was a renowned top grandmaster in the Soviet Union. He's since still been a very strong player. He's an expert in certain openings, particularly the French and the Benoni. Notice here, wow, Zen Chess just hit us with 1,500 bits and wins the bit war immediately. 1,500 bits. And Sublime donated 102. And Sublime's not even a subscriber. Damn, Zen Chess. No, thank you, Sublime. That's awesome. Zen Chess just pours in the donation. 1,545. I can't even say it. Staying ahead of Nilsson, just jumping ahead of Nilsson one go. Wow, that's crazy. Somebody invite Clash Kid and Juicebox Wizard. I don't know if those guys are online now. Juicebox is on. I don't think he's here, but so Sakis. Anyway, Zen Chess, man, awesome donation. By the way, Zen Chess did really well in our Blitz tournament on Tuesday. So Sakis, notice here, he's playing black against Kasparov. This is in 1988, 1990. This is a good year. It was played in La Manga. How do you say that? La Manga. Spain training match. Training match in 1990. So Kasparov was going to play his rematch with Karpov. And I guess the Sakis was like a trainer to Kasparov. The big donations discouraged the war. Yeah, it's like a nuclear weapon. I mean, you wanna get some grounds, troops on the ground and stuff, and do some minor war. Sublime didn't know there was a bit war in effect. That's awesome. But maybe you have a point there, Bob. But anyways, okay, so check this out. Saki's an expert in the Benoni, right? But you can't play the Benoni against Kasparov. That's just not an option. So Sakis plays the Nimzo, and also he's probably training Kasparov for his match with Karpov. If this is a training match, Sakis is going to play, something along the lines of Karpov's repertoire at the time. I fought with your father in the bit wars. Oh, no. So Dim is back with more bits. I don't know what happened there. He's kind of hiding them or something. We got 3 guys over 1,000 for the week. Zen Chess 1545, Nils 1001, and Dim 1001. Well, let's not call it terrorism, Bob. Let's say guerrilla bit warfare, okay? Bishop b4, e3, c5, and now I played this position with both sides. Um, I've played it successfully for both sides. Knight e2. This I worked with Roman. This is the Rubinstein system. Some people say like Rubinstein system for 4e3, but I think it's kind of a misnomer. Dim, yeah, thank you for the donations, guys. So d5, now from black. There are a lot of different approaches here for black. I personally like b6. I think this is, in my opinion, like the most interesting and the most fluid and kind of complex. But it's well known. b6, obviously you can castle for black. CD is a major variation. CD, ED. d5. I had this game with Sviton, like a3. This is kind of a boring line. Bishop takes, knight c6. Or maybe Sviton actually took here. Yeah, Gingy and I looked at this, and Roman was like, oh yeah, we can do this. But when I sat at the board and like Sviton offered me a draw here, after like another move, it was like castles, offer a draw. I just agreed. I don't know. Maybe white is a tiny bit better here, but if the opponent is 100 rating points higher, I guess it's okay to take a draw with white. But anyways, those are different variations. Here we have knight e2, d5, a3, bishop takes c3, Karpov, and Karpov. My other brother, Karpov. If you install a pole in your house and dance around, that's scary, dude. I'm not going to do that. Knight takes c3, c takes d4, e takes d4. So we can still transpose with d takes c4. Yeah, this is the line. This is my game with Sviton. Yeah, so I was just a chicken and agreed to a draw here. But that was in Slovenia, I think 2005. But obviously white has a small edge. There's a lot of theory here. I thought there was a Korchnoi game that was relevant. Maybe I'm crazy. Castles, b6, queen f3. This looks to be like the best move. Bishop b7, and now bishop d3. So this is all theory. Black is fairly solid, although I wouldn't think you'd have a lot of winning chances in this type of line with so much clarification taking place. Yeah, I didn't realize this was a training game. I might have seen this quoted somewhere else, Move 11, and not realize that, you know, the context of the game. A training game is different from a regular game. You know, someone might be forced to play a variation, like Sakis is forced to play a variation he's not necessarily like an expert in, that he probably wouldn't play in like in a tournament, let's say. Rook ad1 and now rook c7. Totally Karpovian. Yeah, so there is Korchnoi. Korchnoi versus Vizhmnavin, 1994. But Korchnoi played everything. Rook c7, that's a classic Karpov move. He loved to play. He loved to play rook c7, defend laterally. I'm not playing games, Sublime. Not today. Tomorrow. We're doing game analysis for tonight, and then Friday at 12 ET, 12 noon ET tomorrow, I will be playing games. But now we're just doing game analysis with the subscribers. Queen h3, bearing down on h7, knight e7, got to cover the weaknesses. And now you look, and there's some newer games. Banikas from Greece. There's a game in 2014, but not many actually. Suat Adalik playing with white in a game, who's a really good theoretical player. Bishop g5, knight g6. I've seen this before, Move 11. Although I never paid like special attention to it. Queen g3, rook d7, and then d5. Beautiful, a beautiful theme. Like in the c3 Sicilian, sometimes you have sacrifices of this variety. Is bishop b5 an idea? Let's say bishop takes d5. What's going on there? By the way. Tomorrow you will compete against the Carlsen Caruana game. Okay, so my stream tomorrow is at 12 noon. What's the time for the Caruana Carlsen game? I'll be the only player not covering the World Chess Championship. Well, maybe we can take time out to look at the position or something. Not the entire stream, but... Yeah, I want to know what's up with bishop takes d5 here. So bishop b5, rook d6 I was looking at. There's the nasty forkness. Oh no. It's a funny way to win the exchange, like knight e4. That's beautiful. Because there's two guys on d6, you actually win the forced exchange. So 15 GMT. Nefedov says, you were referring to Tal Petrosian 1972 by calling it relevant. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Nefedov. I'm not sure what you're talking about. But maybe you could elucidate what you mean. Alright, so this has all been played, and we've got this. This is analysis of a Grandmaster game, training game, pre-1990 World Championship match. Bishop f5, rook e7, at the end of the pawn structure. Obviously, you could play bishop takes f6 and just have a slight edge. Gary goes for more. The Ponda. Guys, Ponda's not here, but his favorite move is h4, as you know. Hello. h4. Those bishops are beautiful things. But I think I've seen this game quoted in some Nimzo book. Queen c7, queen c7, rook c7. And that's surprising, isn't it? After all this excitement, Gary just breaks down and trades queens into what should be like only a tiny edge according to the engine. Beautiful pieces, though. You know, I agree with Kasparov that coordination and structure and two bishops is more important than a pawn. Knight b5 here, 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 here. Wow, that's kind of weird to put the bishop on h3. You think you'd want to put it somewhere where it can look both ways. I want to say Portish, but Sakis plays bishop c8, trading off the bishop pair. Great idea. Rook takes, knight takes a7. So we get a technical ending here. 5 pawns each with a better structure, better bishop, a good bishop versus a knight with pawns on both sides of the board. You know, the thing is, Weiss Monsters, and I hate to say this, but at all levels, most chess games are boring. I mean, that's the reality of chess, actually. You know, and especially if you watch like Carlsen play, you know, it's about correctness, it's about technique. You know, 80% of chess games are inherently kind of boring. But a lot of players, they strive too hard to create excitement, you know, and the object is to win the game, not just create excitement. Kasparov never ever, like, you know, was worse in this game. He was always better. The beginner games are more exciting. Yeah, it became very technical. But when you have two players at that level, this was weird. I mean, like, this is a really weird blunder by Sakis where he goes knight f5. I mean, come on now. Speaking of Magnus Carlsen, there's going to be no surviving with two connected passed pawns, though. It was a strange decision by Sakis to do that. He went for this all-in assault against the white king, but, I mean, f2's protected. So I don't know what he was even thinking there. Regrouping, and then Kasparov loses one of his connected passed pawns. So, you know, that's a little weird. You'd think like I would do anything to keep these pawns on the board, essentially. I would want to do anything to keep those guys alive. What was the white's last move? You know, what about a4, rook a1 or something like that? So apparently Sai has too much counterplay with d4. Kasparov couldn't afford that. And if a4, he has like what? d4 anyway. Because the back rank mate. The knight's covering the square. So Gary had to stop the counterplay and he had to trade this pawn effectively. And now he has one extra pawn, which is enough to win. Actually, Sox gave up very quickly. But again, remember, it's a training game. And, you know, Sox is going to resign, you know, a little more quickly than he might in his own, like, real tournament games. Okay, thank you, move 11. Interesting variation. Wouldn't be my pick for black. It's a solid, safe line. But I would say very, very few winning chances. If you're looking from from black's perspective, I think that, you know, playing for a draw is okay, but if you want to play for a win, I like the b6 line. Much more complicated. There are other things. There are other variations as well. Thanks again to Zen Chess, Nilsson, and Dim for the huge donations this week, especially today. All right, we got that out of the way. We're going to play, or rather, we're going to analyze as many games as we can. Artie Fufkin's up next. We're streaming till 7 p.m. ET. Phone home. Nefedov. So, Nefedov, why are you quoting these games to me? A similar structure, same variation? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're talking about? They were similar to this game? Chess Base 15 coming out in a week. Oh, wow. Alright. Well, you can get it from me for Christmas. Let's see. Alright, knight to b5. Yeah, anyway, I'm talking about the next game. Okay. So it's Artie Fufkin. There he is. Artie is up next. It's Sicilian Canal Satolsky attack. Sokolsky. Satolsky. This is Artie Fufkin. I'm studying this game as I'm experimenting with anti-Sicilian. Okay, appreciate a run through, particularly the idea of the Marazzi bind setup on move 5. Okay. Kind of rare. Kind of rare. Bob. Okay. P. Nefedov. Similar structure. You mentioned Tao's game. And I also thought of one. But it's the same opening as this last Nimzo. Tao played so many different openings. Okay, Dim. I guess we'll take a while. What is Dim talking about? Oh, if Fabi wins tomorrow, he's #1 live? Possible. Where's my GM title eventually? It's on hold. Okay. We're going to take a look at this. Correspondence chess, Carlsen versus Anand. Okay, I don't think it's correspondence chess. This is already Fufkin. He's talking about the opening, though. Playing anti-Sicilians. Okay. So, knight f3, d6. Bishop b5 check. This is Magnus's... This is his magnum opus, you know? I mean, he loves the bishop b5 check. He's the first world champion in the history of chess to love this move. A move that, like most people, most strong players, speaking of boring, Bob, I mean, this is the quintessential boring variation. Until Magnus really started to specialize in it, brought a little more life to it, you know? But objectively, I think that it should be okay for black. So the safe money is on bishop d7. Knight c6 transposes to the Rossolimo. I play that a lot. And knight d7 is the Kasparov. You know, this is the move you play if you want to win with black. If you want to try to win, but it's risky because you fall behind in development. This is Carlsen's first win against the non-classical chess. Wow. So his first win. He was 28-43. And that was played in 2012. This was his first win against the non-classical chess when he was 28-43. That's insane. Seriously? Well, anyway, I mean, Anand played a very solid choice here. The most solid way you can play. Take, and now c4. Okay, so this line is really common. Was it here where you can go queen g4? There is a funny move for black, queen g4, the materialistic. I'm thinking of a different position. No, maybe it is this. I was wondering if white could sack a pawn here with knight c3 and sack the g-pawn. Queen takes, rook g1. I mean, anything's possible, but the center is kind of closed, so I'm not sure that this is really enough. probably not enough. So we have to play castles and sacrifice the e4 pawn. Walter Brown against Quinteros, a lot of old games. Queen g4. For the materialists out there. So Walter Brown discusses this line. Okay, no doubt, dude. It was probably, you know, a really important game in his career against Quinteros in 1974. Brown was at his peak in the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Right. So Queen g4 feels wrong. But I mean, to be honest, c4 is not traditionally the main move. White typically castles here. So c4, knight f6, knight c3, and then g6, and now d4, cd4, knight d4, bishop g7, and now f3, and now queen c7. So, I mean, this move, queen c7, it seems strange, you know, to move the queen again when it really looks like it's fairly normally placed on d7. I don't see why you have to, honestly. I mean, why not just knight to c6 for black here? I don't see anything wrong with that move. Anand also played this in 2016. So I guess it's perfectly okay. Queen c7, b3, queen a5. Okay, so this is some specific line. It seems wrong almost for black to do this, chasing these pieces around by moving the queen 100 times. But the queen now has a better position. It's more fluid. It has all these like escape squares, so it's not confined the way it is on d7. It's basically a Marazzi, and there's been an exchange of pieces which should technically favor black in the Marazzi structure. On paper, I'm saying, you know, if you compare this to Accelerated Dragon Marazzi, the fact that the white square bishop's on the board, although it's white's bad bishop, still, I think overall, any kind of exchanges make it easier for black to equalize. You know, thus, this move. I mean, I would imagine you could move the other knight back to e2. This was played by some Dubkov guy, lost to Gustafsson, but... And I don't want to trade any more pieces. That's enough exchanges for me. King h1 looks like a good move. Movsesian. Draw, draw. I can't really identify with Carlsen's game. You know, some of his games I completely understand, but not the optimal square for the rook there. I mean, what's it really going to do, you know? Ah, that's what it's going to do. Okay, I never saw this game. Bilbao Grand Slam, old game from 2012. Someone's suggesting knight takes e4. 12, knight takes c4. e4. How would that work? You want to like pin it and win it? No. You want to pin it and win it, but there's no time. You know, we're just playing king h1. Yeah, so d5 is some sort of prep, it looks like. I mean, you know, it's possible that Anand found this over the board, but come on, it's not a coincidence that he just played rook d8. I mean, I really don't think this is a coincidence. Rook d8. Possible, though. d5. And now we're taking with the pawn on d5, I would assume. That's amazing. So knight takes d5, cd5, rook d5. And there's literally no way. Feels very much like preparation. There's literally no way. Bang, this is coming with additional pressure just piling up. Man, that's amazing. Nice move by Anand. So Carlsen just kind of bails out, taking here. And Anand is like equalized. He broke the Marazzi. He managed to tactically find a way to get in d5. And there goes Carlsen's structure. I mean, you would think he could even just play like d takes, pawn takes pawn here. The computer's saying that a5 is the best move. I don't like Anand's move, rook c8, because the rook looks kind of inactive there. So, what if we just played this, We walk into bishop a5. Okay, stupid question. So we're threatening bishop a5. Didn't see it. Such an unusual idea. So a5, okay, rook c8. Did Anand just miss this? Oh, dc8. All right, I get it. Avoiding the bishop a5. And then e5. And now it goes into technical mode. It's not about the opening. It's not about anything. Just Carlsen in technical mode. Trade a couple pieces. Get an equal position. And then watch the other guy get crushed technically. Just another example. e6. Simple and beautiful. Capturing with shatter black structure, so Anand doesn't know what to do. That's amazing how Anand's position sort of deteriorated in 2 moves. Slightly better to, I don't know if I'm even equal. Let me turn off this engine. It's probably burning up the stream. That is a serious problem. I don't think Anand, did well in the last 5 or 6 years. All those matches, those 2 matches he played against Anand were atrocious. It didn't seem like he had any belief in himself at all. This is like the precursor of that. So knight f4, bishop takes c3, and the more simple the position gets, the more powerful Magnus becomes. Magnus is the endgame, essentially. And I know firsthand. d4, queen d2, here. Beautiful structure. Structure just doesn't matter when you're, structure, material doesn't matter when you have a structure like this, is what I'm trying to say. Beautiful blockade. If Anand can get an a5, a4, on paper, he might survive. Knight g7, g4, taking away the key squares. Now a5, a4 as fast as humanly possible here for Anand. Why doesn't he do this? Can we play a5? Dude. a5, Anand. Man. Come on. I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's fully there. a5 and the engine says that black is better. But dude, you can't play rook c6, man. Your pieces are tied down in knots. Rook c6 is just like he's psyched out by Carlsen. He would play a5 against a weaker player, I think. It's almost like a psych out. Well, that was a strong maneuver. Knight h3. Queen h6. Uh-oh. So out of the blue, there's like these mating threats. That is nasty. Wow. Suddenly. Beautiful. And black is like lost. Rook e4. Rook e4, rook f4. Knock out the defender of h7 and give mate. Oh no. Rook e5. He's gonna sack on h7, then take on g6, and just crush black into smithereens. This sidesteps knight takes h7, basically. How calmly Carlsen plays technical position. And now a4. a4. Is a4 even necessary? Man. a4. So there's no rook d8. There's no rook d6 without dropping an exchange. There's no way to defend the d3 pawn. And Anand was so disgusted with this position that he just simply resigned. That's impressive, man. Very impressive and very much what we expect from Carlsen. Okay, Nefedov's up next, guys. We're going to try to get to as many of the games as I can. I want to thank Zenchess, Nils, Dim. Also, Mule Skinner, Fishrack House, Sublime, Spectacular Camel, Acerbate, Weiss Monsters, and Scaleaf for donating this week. And M. Van X, I'm going to thank him as well. You can also donate via PayPal anytime. Feel free to shoot me a donation just to support the stream for the year. I don't agree with flown fly climbing. Like, Carlsen spots tactics like no other. I mean, he's pretty good tactically, but he's not even really looking for tactics. I mean, he's so good at strategic play and endgame technique. There just simply aren't that many tactics in his games, He doesn't even need tactics, practically. And I think he should be probably avoiding overly tactical positions against Caruana, because Caruana is extremely strong tactically, probably as good as Magnus is. And I'm not sure that's where you want to fight. That's the place where you want to fight. You want to fight on your strong points, You want to get him in technical positions where, he's just better than Caruana in technical positions. Why play a super sharp, Nidorf or something? Okay, let's go on. And another thing that Carlsen should do is avoiding openings where Caruana is extremely well prepared. Anand didn't see the kingside attack. I didn't see it either, and it was really quick coming. But it's not a surprise given the structural problems. But Anand missed a5, and he would have had a legitimate chance there. So Nefedov's up next, one of our most devoted, long-time subscribers here. His last over the board game, cool. You lost it, so please criticize. I never take it easy on you, Nefedov. So Pavel's black. Alright, this is Joe against Pavel from the Battersea Chess Club. Chessico. My name is Chessica. So D4.
Yeah, baby.
D4. That was sexy. Alright, D4. My name is Chessico. D4, D5. Carlsen and Caruana's greatest strength. His middle game. Yeah, absolutely. He's also pretty good in the opening, in case you didn't know. And he's not bad in the endgame. But his strengths are quite different from Carlsen's. London system, gross. Knight f6, e3. So Pavel plays d5, then g6. Not my favorite, but it's fine. Knight f3, bishop g7. Yeah, objectively, White should probably transpose to, the bishop f4 Grunfeld or something here if he wants to get an advantage. This is actually, Pavel, I would think, a really good way to play against the London system. However, it leads to a relatively fixed structure, and the players playing the London system know what they're doing. Thanks for clarifying what a Chessica is. Nafidov. So castles, c3. That's always kind of why play that if you don't have to. Would be my... that's why this move is number 4 among the different responses White can play. Don't play c3 in the Kali system or the London system or the Tory attack if you don't have to. There's literally no reason, why. That should wait, Develop your pieces first. Unless there's a definite reason you need to play it, because Black played c5. c6. Yeah, if you look here, I think I remember a Smyslov game, Pavel, where Vasily played c5, or possibly knight bd7 first, followed by c5, and then b6. This is look at those moves: b6, knight bd7, c5. Those are the 3 next moves you should probably play. You had some games against me where you played c6, b6 in different structure, but yeah, be aggressive. c5, make a more aggressive move. c6, what's your forward plan if you do that? It seems passive to play c6. It really does. You can get a much more active game here. He's not going to take on c5, is he? Nobody does that. Who does that? Jeff Zhang against Robson. My teammates Zoltan Varga and Taimanov. Interesting. But very few people will play that. And if you're afraid of captures there, you can play b6 or knight bd7 first, followed by... No, Nefedov is black here. By the way, I'm nearly at the point to resign, even, over the board games after facing the London system. Well, it's like morally you want to resign just because it's boring. Honestly, if I played the London system every game, I would quit chess. There's no doubt, you know. But actually, flown flag climbing, I'm not willing to play the stereotypical bullshit of mediocre players. But this is what Grandmaster Nikola Sedlak said to me. He said, like, the reason the London system is effective is because people hate it. Maybe if black learned to love the London system, their results would actually get better. I think it's been a problem of mine. Okay, bishop d3, queen b6. Kind of a weird move here. It's like a one-move threat against the pawn on b2, Nefedov. I just don't really... I'm not on board with that move. Rook b1. Possibly bishop f5. But when you do bishop f5, you have to take care about these things where white isn't castled. And you can try to do like h3 and g4 type sacrifices. The computer really doesn't like this for black. So I don't know what you're doing with the queen on b6 Slav type of structure. What's black's plan here? You don't have e5, you don't have c5. Your bishop is stuck on c8. You know, I don't see a plan. There's c5, but you had to take 2 moves to play it. And in the meantime, your queen is not really ideally placed. Though there aren't a lot of good squares for the queen, truthfully. Maybe it's better late than never to find the right plan here. Spectacular Camel said there is always the Berlin ending or the Petrov. That sounds like Fabiano Carlsen territory. But I think that Carlsen should avoid playing the Berlin endgame. He should be very careful to do that. A more complex Spanish with black for Carlsen is what I recommend. The Archangel, mainline Spanish of some sort, but not the Berlin endgame. I think that Fabiano knows that too well. Castles, c4, and now it feels like Nefedov's not really playing with a plan. This is gonna, be b3 if you're not careful. Gotta move the queen again now. This looks like it was a reasonable move. I mean, you could also put the queen on a5, I guess. That's kind of weird, but playable. No natural square for the black queen here. The queen e2 Petrov, that might be a good choice for Carlsen, actually. But already Caruana's been tested and done well, winning games against Kramnik and So. But I don't think So should have been playing that with white. Okay, rook e1, b5. So Pavel got a plan in, but white gets in e4. And that's what Rubinstein played the London system with white, among many other things. See, that's what's cool about like Rubinstein. It's okay to play the London system, but it's not okay to play the London system, and that's all you play every single day. Rubinstein played the Colley system, the Colley-Zucker the London system, the Tory attack. He played like all main line d4 openings, and he played e4 as well. So he basically played like 7 different things with white. But when he did play the London system, he played it really well. When you play c4 and white hammers through e4, it's just bedtime for Bonzo, for black. This is almost always good for white. And Nefedov is just simply playing a kind of bad French here. Just a bad French. That's it. That's all you got. And you got no f6. Your only hope is this miracle on 34th Street on the queen side. Can that break through, and can we do something with our clumsy pieces? Knight c7, a5, b4, knight b5, pressurizing c3. Good luck. In the meantime, white has an attack on the king side. Yeah, I mean, this move is... bishop h8, Nefedov, is just, you're overthinking here. You just need to go, I think, with a5, b4. f6 looks... Maybe we can talk to move 11 about it, because he had game like this in Catalan, but... If you have to do f6... Mr. Coffey's had positions like this, too. It's just not pleasant, man. It's a bad, yeah, it's a bad position. I think you got to go with a5 and roll the dice. Hope you can outrace this guy, even though you're running behind. But bishop h8 is crazy. You know, knight g7. This looks bizarre. You know, if he just plays g4, what are you doing? Your knight has no squares. Now your bishop's on h8, your knight's on g7. Don't want to get paired with David Bronstein from this position. White's playing well, by the way. Who is this guy? He's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I might have been on board with g4 there with White. You know, I don't really want to see the knight on f5. I think that's a good move. No doubt. Bishop h8, Emery Tate style. No, that's knight a8. Knight a8. You know, it's okay to do bishop h8 if you're like sacking the exchange with bishop h6 takes f8 or something dynamic, but here it's not looking good. But he lets your knight in there. But he goes to g4 anyway. Well, at least your knight is good now. You know, this doesn't seem that bad. Okay, bishop g7. Ah, that was the whole point of the maneuver. Knight h6 check. I think that's a horrible move. Trading off that knight that should have been on g7. Look how the situation changed. Nefedov had a knight on g7 and a bishop on h8. Now his position isn't that bad. It's still bad, the spatial element of it. But yeah, f6, man. I still think you should just roll the dice on the queen side. Try to at least just distract him or something. You know? But f6 is like taking him on. You're basically attacking the head of the shark here. You're supposed to poke it in the eyes. That's the head of the shark. Grab it by the tail. I would try to grab it by the tail. I don't know, man. I don't want to be near the jaws of the shark. You're right near grabbing at the jaws of the shark with f6. It seems like. Bishop takes g7. It's looking almost all right now. It's only slightly worse. h4. This guy is good though. What's his ELO rating or what's his BCF rating? You see, you're just gonna be like Nimzovich. You're gonna get schooled Nimzovich style. F5, good decision, because if you take on e5, it's awful, right? Fe5. I mean, you do get to trade some pieces here, but it's like a thankless task. Maybe you could draw. Randall. All right. I don't know, Nefedov. This was not one of your better games. Nefedov playing the French. How did you get tricked into playing the French? Not good. And you never mobilized the queen side. You went into completely defensive mode. Act fast. Oh no. You know, if only you could play like rook b6 or something. See, this knight wanted to go to f8. And now it's going to have to go to b6. You're on the wrong side, man. f4. We're tearing apart Nefedov for this game. King f2, rook h8, rook h1, and then bishop d7. Woo, we're just in time. He's going to hang on. He's going to hang on by a thread. Oh my god, it looks like one of our stream games. And now g4, you're playing Alexander Ivanov. King e3, a5, finally. g4. Yeah, it's like in Ivanov. You finally got it in. Wait, now there's b4. Man, just waiting to die. No, seriously. He's hanging on here. Oh no. Oh no. Did that have to happen? Man, this is ugly. This guy was good, by the way. Bishop d1. Practically should be a draw. I don't know. I mean, he's coming in with bishop h5. You can't defend that. I think the key mistake was the knight going to b6. If the knight was on f8 in this position, seriously, that minor difference of knight on f8 instead of knight on b6, black is probably okay. But I'm afraid that without the ability to play knight f8, I mean, you've got knight a4 trying to take some pawn on b2, but in the meantime, you're getting mated, or you're losing your e6 pawn. He tried, but it's too late. Oh no. Oh no. Here, here, here. It's over. Because of king e7, queen h4. The happiness. Yeah, that's terrible, Nefedov. I'm sorry, man. Not one of your better games. But I think that the first thing is like playing c4 is a classic Rubinsteinian mistake. You know, do not do that unless you have absolute reason to do it. Like the queens are on b3 and b6 facing off, and you're playing c4, and if he moves his queen, it's hanging or something. The white played really, really well in that game, by the way. Master positional game. Okay, guys, we got 45 minutes left. Let's speed through some more games. Not taking any more submissions. But Yabadis is up with another interesting battle. I don't know if Yabadis is with us here. Chapter 4 in the study would be my game. Yeah, he wanted to mention that, okay, you play blindfold until the computer took my knight on c3. This is lichess AI level 1 against Yabadis blindfold until he dropped a piece. Doesn't Nakamura play c4 in the French in bullet all the time? But I mean, in the French, are you talking about like the winnower? What are you talking about, Move 11? French in what context? Okay. This is blindfold from Yabadis against AI level 1. Think of it as a beginner game. Your favorite, Bob. So here, instead of protecting his pawn, he just went with the central break d5. Maybe a practical mistake in blindfold chess. I think in blindfold chess you're better off trying to play like clear fixed structures. So queen takes d5, obviously a ridiculous sequence for white there in the opening. But black has basically an extra move with a6, knight f6, and bishop e3, knight c6, and the computer plays queen b6, which is irritating because it's easy to forget like the queen is on b6. e5, very fundamental. Now c3. Now you need to decide what to do, and I think if you're sitting there, you see this position. Yeah, level 1 is really weak. Is analyzing blindfold kind of like analyzing bullet? No, I mean, I think that a lot of people can play extremely strong in blindfold. Almost as strong as over the board. But it depends, not everyone can do that. Knight d7, it feels wrong to me. You're undeveloping your piece. I know the queen's on b6, but it looks like you just got to keep developing. This is undeveloping. Oh, and it dropped a piece. Knight takes, knight takes, knight takes. So he's just up a piece. Alright. And then here, nice job, by the way. You know, winning a piece blindfolded against a low-level machine. We get to a point, though, where I guess Yabadis blunders. g3, it's still blindfold, castles, bishop c4, rook d8, castles, castles. At this point, I resign on the blindfold part. I thought you lost the piece. Alright, point taken that you think it's ridiculous to analyze this. But Yabadis' choice. He's a subscriber. b4. Now knight b3 check, king c2, knight takes d2, knight f6 check, and we're just up 2 pieces. Yeah, that's over. And mate. Alright. We're going to go on to the next game, Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes, who's been playing really well since subscribing to the stream. He's got... where's Blue Eyes? He's got an even score against me out of like 6 games, which is really impressive. So he said this was a tournament game. A tournament game he played. He's black. Looks like he's rated around 2100. Let's flip it. So Blue-Eyed Albino, I don't know if he's in the stream tonight, but he's playing the Pierce defense. Good player. Apparently 2100 FIDE. And then Bishop D3. This is a very rarely seen move. Yeah, he's 2100 going on 2200. Played very well against me. But Bishop D3, extremely rare. Let's see what he does here. Because E5, I think as a Pierce player, you know, you want to punish Bishop D3, but at the same time, you don't want to end up just playing like an E4, E5 game. I would think you like hypermodernism when you play the Pierce. So you should continue to play something in the hypermodern vein. I would probably just go G6 if I were black here. It's principled to play E5 though. It's okay. It's a really good it's a really good Petrov. Maybe our strongest viewer at the moment. Although Camel Culture's Blitz the other day was Camel Culture, not Camel, Spectacular Camel. Camel Culture's Blitz result was impressive. He's also strong. And Zen Chess is talented lately. Of the players like who are strong on the stream lately, C3, D5, not like all-time high. Wow. So I've seen a setup in the Pierce where they do this, and then oftentimes they'll also play. They can't play C3 here actually. Yeah, Bishop D3. So with G6, C3, they try to do that. Once I saw a really interesting gambit by David Norwood. Bishop G7, F4, and he played C5. And after this, he sacked the pawn with like D takes C5 castles. This is something that's just amazing. This is Norwood's pawn sacrifice. He played this against a friend of mine. Like, there's only 2 games in the database that both were lost by black. But it's like the computer thinks that white is... It's actually very close to a C3 Sicilian line. One of them is Throster playing white against a low-rated player. So both good players playing against weaker players. So I would keep that in mind, Blue Eyes, if you get that variation. You want to try something different. Although E5 is fine. What's this, though? Is this possibly a transposition to another opening? Is it possible that ancient aliens really started, you know, these civilizations before the time when we thought, when scientists... No, I'm just kidding, guys. You have to ask yourself a question. You just have to ask yourself the question. Weiss monsters. No, seriously, is this possible that this is another opening by transposition? It just seems like it's impossible that 300 or 250 games would go this way. Would go this way in this obscure system. Weird line. It looks like a transposition, but I can't... I'm too tired to imagine what it was. So... Principled in a weird way. Okay. It looks like a Petrov, except there's no knight on F3, so it can't be a Petrov. But after knight F3, it could be a Petrov. So I'm thinking, how do you explain the move C3? Bishop takes E4, but Bishop takes E4 is lame. No, I mean, let's play knight F3. It looks like some kind of Ponziani, which is also impossible because there's no like knight on C6. It basically looks like a Petrov where white's played C3 randomly in a normal position. I hate the move bishop takes E4 because it's white's good bishop. I know that black's pawns his pawn gets a little overextended on E4, but it should be fine for black. I don't think the king not. It's kind of like the Berlin defense. The king losing its right to castle in an endgame scenario doesn't matter that much. In fact, the black king might be an advantage in the center. So we have the two bishops and the fact that the black king can be an advantage in many endgames. We're good to go. Let's see. So this is my one concern. But black has the same type of counterplay against the pawn on e5. So I think when you weigh everything up, I like black here. Even though Stockfish says I should turn off the analysis engine because it drains the CPU, but I think that black is better here. I don't care what Stockfish says. He has the first move, but I still think that black has better practical chances. Knight e2, not even attacking the pawn on e4. Should we try to attack that pawn right away? Friso thought so. Niebuhr, a very old game from 1995. These guys, Cifuentes Parada. So attacking the pawn seems like a good idea, but he just goes there. And he does what I said the other guy should have done, which was basically put pressure on the enemy pawn. And there's some nice paths here. Knight c5, knight d3. Beautiful. Into that weak d3 square. That's amazing. And so the move c3 actually really hurts white because he has a huge weakness on the d3 square. Passive, right? Knight c5. Okay, black does have to develop, though. He's going to have to get his pieces out. Wow. Sarunas Solskis against Ava Moser from 2008. I met her in Aeroflot. Very cute girl. Sarunas Solskis is also not cute, but a very strong player. Knight c1. Man, this looks passive for white. Bishop f5, h3. That doesn't do anything. I mean, h3, does that do anything for white at all? Is there even a reason for this move? Man. This almost feels like copycat syndrome. I think that Blue Eyes was concerned about bishop g5 and then like the pawns going or what? No, I don't see the need for h6. How about king c8? Yeah, like king c8, b6, put the king on b7. We do have to connect the rooks. You could even move it back to e8. That doesn't connect the rooks. I like black a lot here. I don't think h6 is necessary. b4 is like an atrocity. This move looks horrifying. There's weaknesses everywhere. There's like... I mean, the move doesn't even do anything really constructively for white other than create more weaknesses in white's position. I don't know where to go with the knight, though. There's all these possibilities here. It's very difficult to decide. e6 looks like a good square. Why not e6? Centralized blockade. It seems weird to play knight d7. Okay, he must have a plan, though. I don't know. Here, he's just attacking the pawn. He's a materialist. This is the problem. Problema. Yeah, the only move, and the only thing that's saving white from total annihilation is e6. And now bishop takes d4. So Wesley, this is a strong knight. It's a pity because we have the bishop pair. So it looks like it's a pity, really. It's a strong knight, but it's even a stronger bishop. So, man, it's tough here. You could play knight e5, or you could play c5, apparently. That's kind of a scary move, obviously, but this looks like kind of lame. I think that Blue Eyes doesn't have as much now. Honestly, material doesn't mean that much in opposite colored bishop situations. Black could play bishop e6 there. He could, but I don't think that's a big deal either. If he ends up losing this pawn, man, you know, I mean, if he ends up winning a pawn, it's going to be that ugly double pawn anyway. He could play it, and I think Black's not worse, but I think that, yeah, it's not optimal either. The optimal is to keep the bishops on the board. And maybe bishop g6. I was even looking at this. But he just takes on f7. He's not going to let these pawns roll. So, unfortunately, White's advantage is not, or Black's advantage is not very big yet. Now, opposite color bishops are complicated, and he could get something going. Yeah, this is a controversial move. And unfortunately, opposite color bishops, maybe rook e1 here. Two opposite color bishop e here. It's just a draw. It should be a draw. The extra pawn just doesn't mean anything. Unless you're playing like Magnus Carlsen. Now maybe something's happening here. I don't know. There is the 3 on. It's not really 3 on 2 though, because this is still a factor. All right, let's see if he can do anything here. Now we got this. So White blunders with a4. You could take on a5, and after rook takes, if any time you play rook a7, it's bishop d6. I just think it's a draw still. It looks like White did this move. And then there's that b pawn. The b pawn of death. Now a very difficult situation. I mean, it's totally different. Opposite color bishops attacking chances with the rook and bishop particularly. I'm not surprised if Black ends up winning this now. Alright, wait a minute now. So he has to play very, very accurately, like b3, saving that pawn, rook f7, forcing like bishop g3, b3, rook a5, rook f7, bishop d3, h5, h4, gh4, bishop h4. Let's see this variation quickly. Okay, b3, rook a5, rook f7, bishop g3, h5, h4. For example, g takes h4, bishop takes f4. Excuse me, h4. White is fighting for his life here. And it's only one pawn up. But the black pieces are pretty lively. That pawn's extremely strong. No, he had good chances to win. So in the game we had this, 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 and then this. And then here. I mean, what's going on if rook a8 check? What is White like playing for a win or something here? He should keep checking. That's crazy. He doesn't keep checking. And now the pawn is just these pawns. It's two pawns. This is crazy. He just didn't care. Man, endgame technique. White's endgame technique was atrocious. And it's mate, almost. Enough is enough. So, well, anyway, both sides played the endgame kind of sloppy. I suspect that Blue Eye's a young player because it seems like the only weakness he has, I would say, is in endgame. And his opponent was even worse, though. I mean, his opponent played the endgame really badly. I think that Blue Eyes made some mistakes, letting the advantage slip. I'm more or less like very strong in this type of endgame typically, but it would take forever to analyze this position in this setting. We tried to go over it briefly, but a really, really technical endings, rook and bishop, opposite color bishops, like one or two pawns up. Anyway, guys, welcome to the stream. You can support the stream with a bit donation. Why there's no diversity? Forget about political stuff. All right, let's go on. I got Jim, who's donated Dim. He's up next. Big supporter of our stream. Let's do Jim's game next. He played this game some time ago, an exhibition against an IM. I have black. Enormous time pressure in the end. Okay, so this is Dim playing against an IM in a simultaneous. So he's playing b6, a good move that I like. You know, I like to play the English defense, and the only sure way to play the English defense is like c4, b6. Gummy Bear BF just subscribed. Thank you so much for subscribing. That's awesome. We have a lot of competition today. I have a lot of other streamers, and I know the World Championship's coming up. But we still have very devoted following here. Even on days when I don't have a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers, excuse me, we still have our subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, Gummy Bear. So, e5, not the typical move here. Not a typical move. So you're supposed to play e6. And you can also try c5, transposing to a weird kind of Sicilian. But this move, I'll need to do some research because it appears to have a decent following. I feel that it's probably good for white, but you know, you could play the King's Gambit here if you wanted to. I would think with f4. Very interesting idea. Unplayed. Been playing chess for 8 months now, Gummy Bear, and which you started earlier. Wow. That's like you're just in the infancy. Yeah, once you start, you can't stop. I mean, you can take breaks, but you can never stop forever. Mr. Coffee resubscribed. He's been subscribed for a whole year now. Mr. Coffee, thank you. So, anyways, your opponent played knight f3. Again, I never played this line for black. I always play e6 or c5 instead of e5. But I still think that f4 is a cool idea. I think the side, when you have an e4, e5 structure, the side that breaks first is often getting a kind of leverage in the game. That's why the King's Gambit is a semi-popular opening. Okay, knight c6 blocking or bishop on b7. Bit awkward. So what do we got here? Morozevich played this, Nigel Short, and these guys, you know, do play the English defense from time to time, and Grachev. And this guy, Bosiocic, I guess Croatian, he's a player I don't know, but I know that he's really come up. He's one of the top players in Croatia. So c4, anyway, here we go. e5, knight c6, and then d3. I mean, d3 is feeble. My acquaintance, I have a friendly acquaintance with Mises Normans. He's a guy who plays the English a lot. He also plays weird stuff like the Snake Benoni. He's got several games here. How do you have like 2 games in this system? It's totally random. That's amazing. He's got 2 games in 2010 and 2012. Totally strange. So knight f6 here. I mean, blocking your f-pawn. I don't know what you should do. I don't know. You know, you could play like bishop e4, for example. I don't know what to suggest. Bishop c5. Knight f6 is played. Alexander Batty played in Budapest, 2011. My former teammate, Boris Chatalbashev. Alright, let's see. So bishop g5, h6. You could also play bishop e7 there. Very solid. This bishop is misplaced, and it doesn't want to trade itself. That's white's good bishop. So this is seriously... this is seriously a bad strategic decision. White actually just putting the bishop on g5 at all is a bad decision. And none of these Grandmaster Damjanovic, Rambaldoni, both are GMs. Neither of these guys played bishop e2. I mean, both of these guys played bishop e2 here because you don't want to put your bishop out on g5. That's white's good bishop. Bad decision. Here, here, here. Okay, bishop e7. Asterbate understands what I'm talking about in the Czech Benoni. Trading these guys is no good. Castles, castles, and then there's tactics with knight takes e4. This might have worked, like a simplifying exchange. But a6, I don't like a6. Dim, I don't know what you're doing there. That move is just not necessary. A major kind of time waster. It looks like you're playing the Roy Lopez now. The black side of a Roy. And ironically, now you did the tactic and it doesn't work. Apparently there's a tactical problem or a hole here. Because of a6. It appears, it may be because of the move a6 that weakens your b6 square. That makes the difference. This weakening of that pawn. The move a6 just wasn't necessary. And you can't take luxuries when you're playing a risky opening like the English defense. Something hyper modern, essentially. Here. Get your knight into the game, man. Bishop d6. Knight d4. So, the smoke clears. Material is equal. But white has a very powerful bishop pair that I think should leave some sort of advantage. Great move. So this was white and IM. Keep in mind, guys. Now I'm thinking that's not good. I mean, I know what the time control was, but man, that knight is welcome to come into c3. Now black has an advantage. So terrible move. He has to play bishop b4 to keep your knight off of c3. And now Dim is just in charge here. Looks like he's going to win material. Knight c3. All the pieces are coordinated. He's threatening knight takes e2 and bishop takes g2 check in some order. So he plays this. Snap. The problem is white's going to win this pawn on d7 at the end of the day. And could that be a problem? Whoops. Now we have to be very, very careful. I guess you could sack your knight for the pawn if you can collect enough pawns along the way. You can just give up the entire knight and nothing but the knight. Good idea to centralize that guy. Good idea. Everything's under control. Now, we have a problem. Because knight d6 is like c7. Knight d6, c7. And what do we do? Knight d6, c7, rook c1. Bishop takes d6 check. Congratulations. So you had to go here, and this is very awkward. But, needless to say, I mean, if you were to play like rook c1 here, okay, this is good enough. Oh, I see. So he has bishop c4 in the event of rook c1, but that shouldn't really change anything. Here, yeah, this was weird, rook d there. So what if you just played like rook c1? Bishop c4? I mean, what if you were to play take it? You're not close enough with the d-pawn. It's tricky. So here, bishop a6. This is the actual game now. Rook d1, a move I don't understand. Takes, bishop c4, f6, a little too passive. And then the crazy suicidal move. You're playing a titled player, you have at least a draw, probably a win, and he plays h4 and you give him a passed pawn on the h-file. That's dangerous. There was no reason to give a strong player a passed pawn along the h-file. That was really, really dangerous. So it's a draw. Okay. Yeah, just no reason to do that. Okay, guys, we're running out of time. So I've got Sladgie Fan. 3 games I promised. Sladgie Fan, Mule Skinner, and Infinite Flash Chess. I don't know that I'm going to get to Ignis, because it was a little bit late. Okay, Sladgie fan, pull yourself away from politics for a minute while we go over your game. I thought this was an interesting game. Up to a move 19, really unique. Okay, puzzle-like position. This is Raul G versus you. Okay, so it's d4, knight f6, Sladgie fan, or Bob is black, g6, knight c3, bishop g7. It's a King's Indian, nice. Here, mainline classical King's Indian, white plays bishop e2, and then c5. So Bob is Bob. Bob is Sladgie fan, Fish Rat Cow, and he decided to play c5. Cool. I remember Matanovich, who wrote a book on the King's Indian in the 80s, considered this to be part of the King's Indian. But I think that's not really true. You know, it's a Benoni when you play c5. There's also the Marazzi. I mean, if white castles, you basically committed to playing a kind of Marazzi. So maybe like this move is interesting. Something like bishop g4. Alright. So, let's see the game. It goes into a straight up Benoni. e6. h3. The problem with h3 here is that I don't think that white, really likes the bishop on e2 with h3. Typically, if you play h3, you want the bishop on d3. It's a different type of structure. Now watch, after e takes d5, here, if you're going to play this position with white, because your bishop's not on d3, you need to play ed. You don't have the bishop on d3 to defend the pawn on e4. Hold on a second, guys. I'll be right back with you. Alright. Last night I heard a very strange animal in the attic. Might have to call critter control or something. Alright, so let's see. So I think you're supposed to take with the e-pawn here. Albert de Fermian. Basically, white is mixing two systems. There's the classical setup with the bishop on e2 and the knight coming back to d2. And there's a system, the modern system with h3 and bishop d3. But here you have a hybrid of the two. That doesn't seem right to me somehow. Okay. Unfortunately, Bob went Sherish Laios here with two of my long-time opponents, many-time opponents here. Hungarian Grandmasters Varga and Sherish. But no, Bob. This is a bit unusual. Rook e8 putting pressure on the white pawn feels right. You gotta make him pay for playing h3. Rachmanov, not to be confused with Rachmanov. Just a difference of 250 rating points. Yeah, I mean, this is like white just played h3 randomly in a book position where he's not supposed to. That's all. Not good. Not really good for white. So, anyways, he plays cd, rook e8. Okay, you play knight of b7. You're not punishing him here. Castles, rook e8. Good job. And then queen c2. And this is some very, very unusual position. So, Nick de Fermian, 1977. Classic Benoni player, the Nick. Alexander Fair in 2004 was rated 2200. Okay, so queen c2. Probably the lesser of the evils, let's say. What do we do here? Queen e7, stacking up pressure, maybe. What happens on queen e7, Bob? Rook e1, some kind of weird trap, like knight takes e4 and pin it and win it. That could be kind of dicey for black. Yeah, I'm not sure we like this. Alright, so Bob decided not to chase the pawn. But Bob, you have the classic Benoni problem now. That you have bishop on c8, bad bishop. That's not supposed to happen. Harari beat DeFermian, a young DeFermian in 1977. Big mistake. Big mistake here for white. It's Musai in Hungarian. Means like forced, basically. Mandatory. Musai means mandatory. A4 you have to play. If you let Bob play b5, his position becomes kind of okay, you know? So this is huge mistake. And Bob's h6 is okay. And now white makes... Oh, I can't even watch. Oh my god. Oh no. You should have your chess license stripped for playing bishop takes f6, man. You got all your pawns on white squares, and your poor bishop is the only one. The other one is like a pawn itself. And you're giving up your dark squared bishop on f6. Your license to be a chess player should be revoked, Raoul G. No, you can't do that. It's not allowed. Bishop takes f6. Now Bob's clearly better. Any recapture was good there. b5, Bob. Good job. It's the ultimate Benoni now. And Bob getting frisky with c4. Probably not a bad move. Just be careful of that, you know. But he's so little control of the dark squares, he probably can't pull it off. Bob allowed knight d4. Bob's trying to be acerbate. Great maneuver, Bob. But maybe you should stop that, you know, possibility first. Queen b6, another good DeFermian move. I think that's fine. Here. Because I played DeFermian from the white side of the Benoni, and I know what he likes to do. This is beautiful, Bob. Just beautiful. Knight takes e4, knight c6, knight takes c3, sacking the queen, I assume. Are we going to sack the queen here? How do you feel about queen sacks? How do you guys feel about that? This is like not even a queen sack. This is annihilation. Oh my god. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this? 3 pieces for the queen, but just crushing everything. Total coordination, control the E file. My gosh, Bob, that's beautiful. So poor Bob, he played a perfect game, and then after knight takes e4, he like just missed this dynamic queen sacrifice. Let me turn off the engine. So he just dropped a rook, basically. That's it. Just a one-move tactical mistake. f3 is probably not a good move since it's illegal. I guess he has to play only move, bishop f3. Poor Bob, just down a rook now. Your opponent seemed bad positionally, but decent tactically. Easy one-move threats he finds. No, it was nice position, Bob. Just don't fall asleep tactically. Okay, guys, we got time for 2 last games. I'm doing Mule Skinner and Mule Skinner. No, I said Mule Skinner Infinite Flash. Okay. You played white 90-30. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Tomorrow, 12 noon, we're going to be playing Fast Blitz 5+3. I think it's easy to see that tactic. It's easy to see the tactic. I think the thing is having an imagination. Having imagination is something that players don't typically really develop well, you know, until they've really become confident in their tactics. And I think you're not that confident in your tactics yet, you know. You can't be creative tactically till you really mastered. You become very proficient until a certain level. it's hard to be creative tactically, like sacking your queen for 3 pieces and stuff like that until you've mastered the fundamental tactical proficiency, which I think really comes with being like 2000 or above. I mean, to a lot of people, to Larry Christensen, sacking his queen like that is just like falling out of bed. I mean, he would instantly look for things like sacking his queen. For me, it's a little bit second nature, but I find them. I like to play dynamically. But I think you have to get to a pretty high level before that becomes kind of routine. Yeah, well, that's what makes chess beautiful. People that see different elements to the game. So Mule Skinner is, I assume, black here, right? I did read that, right? I'm forgetting what I said. No, you played white in this over the board game, 90-30. Good thing I double checked. All right, so because Mule Skinner plays the French with black, I never tried playing the French against the French player. Would be an interesting test. So he plays this line, and I played it against him. Black plays the Rubinstein, which isn't great, but it's solid. And then he plays knight f6, which is a very, I think a fairly rare move. So Mule Skinner plays bishop d3. That seems lame, but the score is okay with it. It just doesn't seem right to just let him trade knight takes e4 here. Bishop d3, knight takes e4. Bishop takes e4. Black should be more or less okay. So the refutation of knight f6 is to take. And then on queen takes, this is a line. Like knight f3, threatening stuff with bishop g5, you have to play h6. And this is a strange variation, which I don't think has a very good reputation for black. There is the possibility of black taking with the g-pawn, but I think that's kind of strategically dubious. Basically similar to the GF Caro-Kann. If you look at this deeply enough, I think you'll find a lot of good games for white. Flown Fly Climbing subscribed to the stream because Bob gifted a tier 1 sub. And Bob has gifted 6 gift subs in the channel. So Bob, thank you so much. And Flown Fly Climbing thanks you. I play the Benoni very well. That's what I've been told. Sebastian Feller, otherwise known as the Computer. He was like banned from chess, this French grandmaster. Sebastian Feller was banned for several years for overtly cheating with chess engines in over-the-board tournaments. I think it's been ended now, his like ban. But I mean, his reputation is destroyed forever. So anyway, knight f3. This is not the game. Mule Skinner plays bishop d3. Okay, I think it's not a big deal. You shouldn't play bishop d3. Castle's there. Yeah, more dynamic to play the main move here. You see queen e2. I know there was a Gligorich game I saw at one point. There was also a nice Wesley So game where he played like c3 and used his queen on c2 to beat Akobian in a U.S. championship a couple years ago. But I think that castling long would be something, and Gligorich did like this g4, g5 type of attack on the king side. Instead, Mule Skinner just plays very solidly, but this is a little bit too simplistic for my liking. c3, securing the d4 pawn, okay. But knight takes f6 check, bishop takes f6, and now what? Okay, rook e1. With queen e2, you have the nice cheapo, b6, queen e4. That's the most famous trap in the French. Rubinstein, of course. Queen e2 would put the queen on, on the line with the other rook on e8. But you're basically trying to stop black from these breaks. And Mule Skinner knows because he plays the French with black, though not the Rubinstein variation. Bishop f4 here, a move apparently. Played a couple times, which makes sense too. Rook e1 also makes sense. This move is always bad. Basically, it's always bad. I can't just stress it enough. It takes away control of these vital squares. Black's trying to break out with c5 or maybe even e5. You just can't do this. Knight f8. It's just too passive. So h4. Yeah, I mean, h4 is interesting. You know, I wouldn't play it. I don't think I would play it in a long game, but in blitz or something like that. It's a speculative pawn sacrifice. You see grandmasters do this kind of stuff, Mule Skinner, in like the Pana Botvinnik. It's a little better if black's played g6, probably. You see this in the c3 Sicilian Pana Botvinnik isolated pawn positions. Many cases. I would really, really like it if black had played g6 and the dark squares were even weaker. I would even like it, you know, with the rook on h1. But it's interesting, and the pawn does support it. So he gives up his dark square bishop. We have a pawn, two nice bishops. So look at the computer evaluation, Stockfish here. No development for black, basically, and we have two bishops were clearly better. Rook e4. Arguably attacking a piece for the sake of attacking it. Queen e7 and now queen h5. Pretty brute force. This is an atrocity strategically, f5, creating a backward pawn for black. Forever, white will have massive compensation. Rook e2, good move. Queen f7. And I don't really want to trade queens because we sacked the pawn for the initiative. Queen h2 looks really beautiful. I think queen h2 because you're looking for that you're looking for this dark square control. That would be optimal. Computer there was saying exchange queens, but I don't believe it on a practical level. Computer says sack a pawn back with e5. That's a very deep kind of thing that most humans couldn't bring themselves to do. The average human opponent is sitting there saying, I'm up a pawn, I'm going to keep this pawn no matter what I do, you know. And the actual solution that the engine finds is to give the pawn back right away, to change the position and create a situation where you're like blockading. So it's basically a really, really solid blockade on the white squares. Maybe not this move right away, but whatever. We're going to just try to hang on and blockade the position, blockade the pawn. Even if he went here, that drops the pawn. Still not an easy position to play for black. Okay, so c6, awful looking position, bishop f4. Here, we're all developed. Now, how do we break through? Good move. How do we break through? This is the problem. We're a pawn down, and breaking through with these bishops is not so easy. So, Morales wins in exchange. Morales, you had bishop c7 here. Why does bishop c7 not work? Goodness gracious. Bishop c7 doesn't work because of bishop c8, and he has this bishop takes a6 and bishop takes e2, hitting the queen on f3. Nice arrow. That's so sad. Probably Morales was banking on that. I'm sorry, Mule Skinner. I'm sorry I always get guys confused. I just like saying Morales. I know you've been trying to correct me in the chat, but I'm hurrying up because we only have time for this last two games. So, Mule Skinner, I'm sorry for calling you Morales. But you guys are the Spanish team, so you're just interchangeable. Like Nefedov, an Arsenal fan. Okay, bishop c8. And then bishop takes f8 was played just winning the pawn on e6. Or c6. He didn't do it. Okay, well, it's principled. He doesn't want to cash in and just get his pawn back. He's trying to keep the advantage, keep the initiative going. He gets the pawn back anyway. So black should defend this pawn, clearly. No? He can't defend this pawn? What if he plays like bishop d7? Well, I mean, this seems more stubborn to me. Okay, he gives you this pawn back, but there's possible danger. The bishop e7, long diagonal, g2, knight's coming to f4, uh-oh. So it's a blunder to take the pawn, ironically. Crafty play by black. It's interesting that I categorize people. Well, the fact of the matter is they have names that start with M, and they're relatively same amount of like letters, Bob. But you know, what can I do? Yes, I categorize them. They both play the French defense. Their names both start with M. They both have names that are approximately the same length, and they both live in the same country. So that's not enough to get them confused. I don't know what is. Okay, bishop a3 here, knight g6, queen takes c6. So he should have cashed in for the pawn before with bishop takes f8, sadly. Now there's not as much counterplay. Like when you take this pawn here, I would say, why not king takes? Queen takes c6, bishop b7, and white is slightly better because of the pressure against e6. But it's not that big a deal now. And there will be counterplay against g2. So this was an interesting struggle. I would have loved to have more time. I've got to go very quickly. So we're going to take a look at what happened here. Bishop a3, knight g6, grabs the pawn, loses the initiative, knight f4. Now there's going to be mating attacks with queen g6, bishop b7. Oh. Queen b5, queen g6. It looks overwhelming. It really looks overwhelming. Only move. And now queen h5 threatening mate. But he's hanging on with d5, and there's this pressure down the file. There's all sorts of threats. You can take the knight on f4. Wow. He just took the pawn with a knight on d5, and it got very complicated. So the connection here on the diagonal, broken. Rook takes, rook takes. Wow, very, very tricky. And there's also the e8. Black has to watch for back rank mates. He practically, is scared, plays king h8. Be careful of the back rank mate. Very dynamic position. Bishop e2, queen f7. Now black's on the defensive, and the two bishops just give white an advantage. So the advantage changed many, many times here. Reminds you of Kasparov versus Sages. Yeah, right. A little more dynamic. But the same principle of, the two bishops. In that sense, move 11, you're correct. Rook e5, f4. Black, obviously, a competent player. He's finding chances to get dynamic. g4. There goes the king side. h6. Queen d3. It's not clear, who's on defensive. Who's on the defensive here? Rook f5, queen h4. There's no direct threat, but there's that nasty h1 mate. And then here, defending against said mate. Knight e3. Oh my god. But this is just a big exchange. Wow. Mass liquidation. And a beautiful endgame. What do you think, Ibadas? Ops-colored bishops. 5 pawns against 4. All ops-colored bishops are drawn. g5 here is probably not a bad move for white. Although that might be tricky. Those pawns are two connected pawns. That e3 pawn being so far advanced is pretty disturbing. This is not easy for white to hold. I'm gonna say now. He tried it, but I'm not sure that this is right. There really may be better somehow. It looks like the secret sauce is bishop d6, bishop b8 going for his pawns. I admit that g5 was very tempting, but after this, we go here. You take the pawn, or what? You take on g4, I have bishop b8. Take on g4, I have bishop b8. You play a6, I play bishop here. We're going to lose. This doesn't work. Man, that looks bad. Those two pawns look like they're winning for black. I would think that black is winning. Speaking of ancient aliens, what do you guys think of the new article that there's a alien probe coming, or came through our solar system or whatever? F takes e3, g5 here. H takes g5, a4. And then this looks ugly, man. Oh no. I don't think you should let that pawn get so close. So, yeah, Mule Skinner needs to stop that pawn. But I'm not sure if he can really draw this. I mean, those pawns are super, super problematic. I'm curious, though. This deserves more analysis. He blundered here with an e2. And now he has g3, g2, g1. Can't stop the pawns. Okay, unfortunate endgame for you. It looks like you had a really good game. Propaganda. Possibly. I need to do more research. So, now we have one last game to analyze for the subscriber stream. We're over time, but I'm going to do it. We've got... hold on for a second, guys. I'll be 1 second. One last thing. Sorry, guys. I have many responsibilities here at the command center, Space Command Center. All right, last game for today, and then tomorrow we're going to be back at 12 for Infinite Flash Chess. Played this game a couple days ago. One of my better games. Despite evaluation. Alright, I drank too much lemonade. Now I have indigestion. It's very, very, very bad. Don't drink lemonade in the winter. Or fall or whatever it is. And don't eat frozen pizza and drink lemonade at the same time. Very bad idea. Alright, M-Cell playing white, Infinite Flash black. This is our last game for today. E4. I wonder if I saw this game. I think that I saw Infinite Flash put this in a study, because I followed him on lichess a while ago when he subscribed, or maybe when I realized he was a streamer, and I see sometimes notifications from other people I follow, and I think I saw the Infinite Flash put this game in. He said his H5 was an interesting game. Okay, so it's Vienna game with G3. I remember a guy at my chess club who used to play this. Totally Steinitz system. Pizza with lemonade, not a good idea. Alright, Papa Gino's closed 95 stores here in New England. Not a good thing. I can't stand Domino's. Okay, Knight C6, Bishop G2. And I won't go to Papa John's. I'm not going to do that. Just to eat at the local pizzeria. So Infinite Flash, yeah, he's playing Bishop C5 here. Very principled. Knight E2. This is a Steinitzian system by white. Blazing Heart for you donated 1 bit. Thank you, man. It was an expensive game on your rating. Ouch. Sorry about that, Mule Skinner. So, yeah, so he gets creative here and plays H5. The pawn to inspiration move. You know, I think it's interesting. It's a little bit over the top for a long game. Go local or go home. I agree, Bob. I agree. I mean, if you're in Boston or something, you can go to the North End and get really good pizza. But in the suburbs of Boston, there aren't always reliable places to get pizza. I'm not in the suburbs. I'm even further out. So H5 is a really gutsy move. It does look a little over the top. This has been played by the great Pavel Blatny. Pavel is known to do some weird stuff. He's done increasingly stranger and stranger openings in his career. He's basically off the radar now, rating-wise, like myself. Although he did win the New York Open once. H5, H3, and then D6. So we might as well play D6 first. D3, and then H4. And I know that white must have been surprised here. He thought, oh, I'm Yasser Seirawan. I'll just play H3. If H4 it's the pawn stop, I just do G4. But it's not mandatory to do that. So it looks like he has this. He has this Igor Gazic. I beat that guy. Bishop G5. This move is maybe superior because he just kind of keeps the situation and forces Infinite Flash Chess to give it up, basically. Guess we take with the pawn. Keep the knight controlling the d4 square. The pin is kind of nasty. So this would have been a much more solid approach. But instead, White, okay, he played like g4. He's like, what are you going to do to me? And Igor Gazic played knight h7. I mean, this is pretty coffee house. But the plan is very clear. Knight h7, knight e6, knight f4. We're just generally trying to control the dark squares. Yeah, I had SETI on my computer at one time, the screensaver. Flag climbing. Okay, but anyway, we get interesting here. Bishop takes g4 for entertainment purposes only. H takes g4, knight takes g4. A speculative piece sacrifice. And like so many practical sacrifices, we can look at the chess engine and say, okay, well, Stockfish says, I'm going to turn the engine off because it's probably frying my stream. We can say, yeah, it's plus whatever for White. This is bad. But the truth is, and a lot of people will agree with me, I think situations like that are reasonable. It's reasonable to make a sacrifice this 2 pieces, or 2 pawns for a piece for 2 pawns, because the opponent has to play perfect moves in this sort of situation, or else he may be not better or even worse. So this is a good example of practical sacrifice. But I think that's something you should probably not do should it be like a long game. I mean, if this is a long time control. So he has to find d4, and that's something like straight out of the fried liver attack, basically. So it's a thematic move for someone who maybe knows the fried liver attack. Like, all right, so we do d4. We cut him off, and we'll have some sort of tricks to save the day. But that's not on the front of the mind of most people. So White panics. He just doesn't even stop to think about that. I mean, unfortunately, knight d4 doesn't defend. We just start taking pieces with tempo, but not a lot of options here. Yeah, so he plays rook f1, and this is like already horrible for White, amazingly, because now the h pawn is just flying down the board. Bishop f3, knight f2, here, and then here. And again, I guess here might be like some sort of last chance for d4. Let's see what the engine says. Right, so last chance for d4. If ed4, knight a4, eliminating said bishop, White tries to survive. And it doesn't look good. Plus we have the additional threat of h2, h1. Really nice. Yabatis will like this one. He's a big fan of practical chess. E takes d4, knight a4. This is game. d3. What else? Knight takes c5. D takes e2. And then, this guy's 2168, guys, keep in mind. So he's not a pushover. And this is a long time control. A game, 15 minutes. D takes, queen takes e2. Or wait, how many minutes is this? 10 minutes? Alright, 10 minutes. So knight d4. And so did we make a mistake here with black, or did we play this correctly? We made a mistake. Knight takes c5. What could we have done better? That was a hard move to find. Excuse me. Let me go back to the game. Alright, so we're up to this d3. White takes on c5, and this is already a mistake. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would have played d3 as well, like most people. Well, Bob, you might as well die in the War of the Worlds, because if you don't, you're just going to die in some generic mass shooting anyway. You might as well go down in style, I don't want to be generic and get gunned down in the mall or something, I mean, d3. So, because nothing's going to change with that, obviously. Sadly, although it should. But this was a tough move to find, I think. 95. That's kind of a killer, because if you take that bishop out, that's his only way to stop the h-pawn. So that's an absolute crush. War of the Worlds would be awesome. d3, knight takes c5, d takes e2. And so White misses some absolutely stunning shot here, queen d5. Only a computer finds that, or a grandmaster who has enough time to really keep their composure. But instead, he just took the pawn, and now it's unclear. Knight d4, here, 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 and now here we eliminate the stopper of the h pawn, basically, right? Queen takes, and now h2 is very tempting, but f7's hanging, so Infinite Flash Chess sensibly castles. Unfortunately, white has another piece he can give up to stop the pawn, like bishop f4. Instead, he does a strange move. He plays bishop e3, guarding his rook on f2, but it seems like you've got to be willing to play bishop f4 now and stop h2. Literally, the only thing that makes sense. This is just a blunder, and it's like h2, and it's over. And that's it. But anyway, it was a creative effort by Infinite Flash Chess, and I think we respect that. That was cool. All right. One would wish, Astrobain, one wish the number one cause of death was stupidity. Unfortunately, the number one cause of death is stupidity of other people, and that's not fair. So with that, we're going to close down the stream. I will be back tomorrow at 5, I will be back tomorrow at 12 noon with our Fast Friday 5 plus 3. I was trying to say 5 plus 3 instead of 5:30. 5 plus 3 Fast Blitz here on the stream. I will see you guys then. Thanks for the new subscribers. Thanks everybody for the bit war today. Zen Chess, Nils, and Dim. You guys, as usual, came through, supported the stream for the week. I really appreciate it. We still have some streams left Friday and Sunday. Move 11. Thanks for the creeper. Dim with another 100 for the extra long stream today. Yeah, I didn't realize we're so far over. So Dim now a clear second ahead of Nils. Totally dominating Nils, taking out the second place. And congratulations for that, Nils. I mean, Dim. Gummy Bear, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, and I can't pronounce it, but Fly Climbing is going to be thanked as well. And thank you, Bob, for guest donation. Hippo Defense, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys then tomorrow, 12 noon. So, yeah, I really appreciate the donations, guys. So we had a PayPal donation yesterday from a guy, M Van X, and I want to thank him as well. So with that in mind, I want to just remind you I have a YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I do upload upstream the streams. And the pandas say thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, guys. Again, thank you. Enjoy the World Championship coming up. Maybe we'll touch on some of those games, but I can't do, detailed analysis of the World Championship. We can maybe take a peek if a game's going on, but I want to maintain a kind of cohesive schedule. I will see you guys later. Take care. Bye. Thanks to JCS for being our moderator while Soltigo is down. Again, guys, thanks a lot, and later.